guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is October 21st, 2017. Now, we have been absent for a couple of days. And
one day.
It feels like forever when we don't see you guys. No, today is Friday. When were we here? Wednesday?
Thursday. Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday. It feels like a couple of days. So anyway, but what we want to bring you today is not so much the news, which I think we will cover a little bit of news.
I have
but
tons of news.
To me, this is one of the most important things right now. One of the most important topics that we can be talking about is child pedophilia. Why? Because if you can get the innocence of a child, you will have damaged them, not completely broken them, but at the very least damaged that future adult, right? And that is their goal. The collapse of society.
Yeah, there's a new documentary out. It's called An Open Secret, and I'm going to take you to an interview with Alex Jones. This particular documentary called An Open Secret, which I guess probably would be great for you guys to see that straight off the bat. Here's the producer, director here. This is Gabe Hoffman. I want to see which one I have up right, the one I want up. This particular documentary actually ousts real pedophiles.
Thank God.
The people were not allowed to go on and just be anonymous. They had to show their faces and name their accusers, and they catch one of the child. This is about Hollywood, but it goes so much deeper. So I'm going to play this interview, and we're going to bring you some good news, because this week there was a giant pedophile ring that was shut down.
I love it.
And also we're going to take you to the transgender library storytelling, because what unsuspecting parents don't understand is that is the way to groom children into pedophilia.
We've posted it to Infowars.com. It's free through the 31st. Now, you had to put it on Vimeo because they don't censor like YouTube and Google do as much. Oh, yeah, Google and YouTube are really censored.
It is free.
That's
it
why
was
you've
going to
gotta
be
share
free
it
until the
everybody
22nd, but on the show he said we're going to let it go until the 31st.
Wow.
To watch it free.
I want to see 10 million by next Monday, folks. We do videos all the time that get 20, 30, 40, 50 million views. This is a film with blood, sweat, and tears for the children, the victims, and to help and stop other victims. We've got to expose.
They have a pedophile map here, where different pedophiles in Hollywood, how they're connected, different agents. It's the agents that pass them on. It has come out that Weinstein had hired a convicted pedophile who raped a 12-year-old boy in a Disney movie called Jeepers Creepers. And everybody knew that he was a convicted pedophile. And the people on the set, when they did find out, they said, well, just keep him away from the kids.
Oh my gosh. That's not the answer. That's what they always go for.
The Empire's on the run. It's posted to Infowars.com. I just tweeted it at Real Alex Jones. Please retweet it right now. Let's scroll back to the top. I'm going to give folks the name of the article. That I need you to send to local radio stations, local TV stations, and say, interview Dave Hoffman and the rest of his crew. He flew on his own dime. When we wanted to get him on last week, he said, no, I'll just fly there next Friday. He did it. Didn't want us to pay for anything. He's a rich, successful guy. He's doing this because he actually cares. Because his friends of his knew about this who were in Hollywood and said it was horrible. So again, An Open Secret on Twitter.
They used the same director who did a documentary on the Catholic pedophilia.
Get it
Fantastic.
Out. See the groundbreaking film that exposes Hollywood pedophilia.
So from what I understand, this was released in 2014, but I think it's very pertinent that it's coming back again today.
It's $1.5 million
for just such a time as this.
Now, again,
they had just said that on this broadcast.
Really?
The
That's
director's already got nominated for an Oscar with her film, what was it, a decade ago, first exposing the Vatican and all the sex crimes here in the U.S., all proven right. It isn't about the money. The satisfaction is knowing these scumbags are being brought to justice. So you've got the floor in this segment, the next, because I just wanted to break that down, but I wanted to ask the listeners to come together as humans. Every race, color, and creed.
So when you're done watching our show, go watch this. And if you have kids,
we will be watching it.
You name it. Buy these
If you have kids, I want you to watch this with them, Because in today's day and age, kids need to see this. It's PG-13.
Okay, but name kids.
I mean all children. I mean infants on, because the problem is in today's day and age, if you do not tell them what to do
in a situation
like this, they will keep it a secret. This is very personal to us. No, seriously, it's very personal to us because we know people who've been affected.
I was sensing the Leah
I get really angry because
and rightfully
everyone I know, it seems, has a story, and 9 times out of 10, no one gets in trouble. And more than that,
they don't tell until they're an adult.
They don't tell anybody because they're afraid that their parents will go and kill this person.
Right.
Because their parents might have said something like, I have had friends who were molested and they said, I was afraid to tell my mom because my mom was molested, and she said if she ever found out, they'd kill this person, and I didn't want this person to die necessarily.
Exactly.
I know people who were molested, and it was out that they were molested by their fathers, and it was well known in the whole family. But the whole family would still get together for get-togethers. I had a friend of mine today tell me, for the first time, she had never told anyone in her life. And she told Michelle and I today. The beans are spilling. There's nothing she can do. This person's gone. But I want infants to watch this. Like 2 and 3 years old. As soon as you can have cognizance to know, because children need to know exactly what to do.
Right.
When this thing happens, because what happens is at those precious ages of 2, 3, 4,
and this is
5,
what our friend was saying today, that as a kid, you feel, when you've been molested, you feel somehow that it was your fault and you're very ashamed.
Right.
And so you need to prepare your kids in today's day and age. I got to tell you guys, and I know everyone out there probably thinks that I'm crazy. When I have children, Lord willing, my kids will be around my family, my family's children, okay, and no one else. Like, literally, I'm going to keep them packed away in some sort of backwoods. They're going to be, yes, that is what they're going to be. I'm telling you, I am hiding my children away from all of society.
The problem is that what happens with molestation and the sexualization of children is it's a disease that gets spread amongst children. It doesn't just come from adults.
Right.
It comes from, unfortunately, other children. I had a friend of mine tell me that her I don't know, 7-year-old boy, I don't know how old he was, like 6 or 7, was asked to show his goods to another young boy, but in the neighborhood, and neither family moves, right? And so you just have to watch them. But it's still that kid is molested. You know he is.
Because that sort of thing doesn't just happen.
Exactly, and this particular family, I could just tell, no good. Right? So you just know these things are happening, but we need the people, we need victims and parents to know exactly what to do.
To be completely armed,
And to be able to go to authorities, and we need it to not be a thing of shame anymore.
Right. Yeah.
We need to oust people to say, this is what happened, and this is what happened, and it's not this person's fault. And we need to...
I think part of the problem in our society, to be completely honest, is that our society is so perverse. Right. That when we watch these movies, right, that are just ridiculous, and it has desensitized us. And so when we see a perpetrator do this kind of act, we see the human first and the perpetrator second.
Right.
And so we're like, what would I want to happen to me in that situation? It was just an honest mistake. Does that person really need to go to jail? We can just, keep my child away from that person from now on. And it's like, oh no, heck no. Because if you cover it up, then you are culpable for every victim that happens after that. And that goes for every single one of you that has contributed in covering up child molestation in the past. Because I would say, this is a complete guess, but 1 out of 7 people knows somebody personally that was molested by somebody else that they know, and they still haven't done anything about it. Right. And it is not okay. We must shout these things from the rooftop.
I only have
perpetrator first, person
in
second.
All my life, and all these victims that I know personally, Only one received justice. Only one. She was molested by her father, and when her mother found out about it, she locked him in the car and set the car on fire. He was able to get out of the car. The police did not charge the mother with attempted murder. The man went to jail, and he was killed in prison.
Because that's what they do in prison to pedophiles.
And that is justice. That is justice. Millie Weaver was on InfoWars last night. If you guys watch InfoWars with Alex Jones and Millie, I think it was like the second hour yesterday.
She exposes not so much the pedophilia as much as the grooming of the Hollywood young girls and the satanic rituals that go along with it.
So she told a story though about Gavin, who grew up in a neighborhood, and I guess everybody, the women said that this one woman was being beat by her husband, and long story short, all the men got together and beat the guy up and said, you do it again, and he never did. And so we're missing that sense of righteousness because people don't have the righteousness.
Well, and they're afraid that they're going to get in trouble.
Right, exactly.
Imagine, Alex, you make a film, you hire an Oscar-nominated director and all that, and then you take it to the mainstream liberal-leaning media for the reviews. New York Times, Variety, all that. And your film gets a 93% positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes. 93%. That's almost unprecedented. 93%.
They say Rotten Tomatoes is ruining Hollywood because they give such low ones, but the human population gives you an unprecedented 93.
Right, so we get a 93, and we're thinking, okay, well, we'll go to film festivals because, hey, that's the next step in the process to try to sell something, right? So, okay, film festivals are easy to get into. You pay a small registration fee, and even, look, if you had 3 kids that got 20 grand together, they'll put them in a documentary corner somewhere, maybe not on the main screen, but they're pretty easy, especially when you've got something as legitimate as this. It's no-brainer. The first 3 film festivals, Alex, that we tried to go to, LA, Toronto, and London, you know what happened? The lower level people who reviewed the film for quality thought, okay, great, we're going to put it up there. In fact, in a place of prominence. Then, each time, a couple weeks later, guess what happened? The higher-ups learned about it through their Hollywood, connected pedophiles, and they disinvited us from those festivals.
And that shows you who's in charge.
Absolutely.
That's what we have to get these things out there.
We went to festivals anyway. We went to Cannes, we went to Doc NYC, and when we went to Doc NYC, it sold out a 500-person theater on 2 days' notice, and Drudge put it up on the top of the page that the sex abuse,
Isn't he just a hero for taking stuff that they're suppressing and punching it out there?
I love it.
Well, Dan Gable, famous wrestling coach, he said once you've wrestled in life, everything else is easy, and this sure is. Fighting financial fraud and biotech fraud and scientific fraud for years and years. I'm used to a fight. And
hasn't it made you stronger?
Oh, yeah.
People think avoiding fights makes them, stronger. No, getting in one is the right fight.
Well, when you get inspired by the brave survivors that you've seen in Open Secret, you see what they and their family have gone through, and when they put their lives on camera, just bare their souls, literally, and you see that in the film, you'd be inspired to fight for them, too.
I tell you, it is.
I want to go ahead and take a second.
I started out saying that this was the 21st. It's the 20th. You did not lose a day.
Bring it up. I'm going to... Here it is.
Patriot Gallery.
I invited Poland 11/11/17 for their March for Freedom.
I wish we could go to Poland 11/11/17.
So I want to bring up... this isn't...
But we'll cover it.
This is the whole thing. I wanted just to have you guys watch...
Like a trailer?
The trailer. Yeah. Hang on. Let me get the trailer up here, guys. I just want you
So Zoe says something really important. We need to stop training kids to obey. And that is one of those things that is really important. We send them to public schools, and we are taught that if an adult tells you something, then you do what that adult says to do. And then they become adults, and they still have that kind of obedience mentality. They never go against the grain.
Right. It's actually rated PG-13, he said, so I don't know why that this is particularly...
I think every little kid dreams about being famous and being in movies.
This is California. This is where you make it. This is where it all starts.
You'll get signed by a label. You can star on Disney Channel. What kid wouldn't want that, right? I remember you asked me if I ever did anything with the guy before. I was not interested at 12.
You know the thing, right?
Looks like an angel.
Hollywood doesn't have any system in place to protect anybody, and children are way down on the list.
Children need management just like everybody else.
Walk like an angel.
Everybody liked him.
He became part of the family.
In the beginning, it was happy, and then things started
Oh,
changing.
you talk like an
They
angel.
pick on people who they know will be victims.
You have an adult who is manipulating the child.
Like an
Just getting,
angel.
hired on the spot like that. That had never happened before. It's obvious that something was going on.
You fool.
The party made me feel uncomfortable. There were lots of drugs available, and there were young teenage boys.
I remember being scared.
He just told me this is what you have to do.
A number of boys told me to point the gun at them just like that.
He said, "Do you not understand the power I have?"
You're the devil inside.
I remember sitting in my room and crying my eyes out.
He said, "What would you do? That happened to me."
A lot of investors completely denied that anything was going on.
Clearly, the studio didn't want an investigation.
I hate it when you try to have me sleep in your bed and touch me.
I don't know anything about them.
There will always be a steady stream of kids who want to be famous. We're absolutely talking about the tip of an iceberg.
Wow. So, okay,
It wasn't uncommon. Let's put it that way.
I really am going to officially disagree with Leah here on this. You have to watch it first before you have your kids watch it and decide if you think that this, because here's the thing, watching this could be the equivalent of child molestation. We haven't seen it yet, so you can't say have your kids watch this until, because that guy just said you touched me. I don't know.
Well, you're right, but at the same time, I listened to, you didn't hear the Alex Jones interview with him.
Okay.
He said, have your kids watch it.
Okay, well,
and then,
as a parent, we should always, listen to me like I'm a parent. I will be one day. You should always
our mom
watch
would have
something first.
Our mom, I think that the only reason that Michelle and I weren't actually molested is because our mom was really, I know, but she also had us like watch things that
she did.
I agree. Would teach us. We live in a day and age where the libraries have drag queens. If you don't show your kids the other side, they're going to see the other side. They're going to see the transgender side. They're going to see the porn side. The porn is in grocery stores. It is sexualizing of our children. Right. I told you guys I was going to do a Wonder Woman episode.
Especially if your kids go to public school, they would be
yet.
fine watching this. If your kids are homeschooled, their innocence is already probably protected.
I don't know.
Would be a little bit more wary.
No, it's absolutely not. I'm going to disagree with you again because we know homeschoolers kids who've gotten into porn.
No, true story.
We know that homeschoolers. We know of several cases of young men whose lives have been ruined. So no, no, I am totally going to fight you on this tooth and nail.
Okay.
Nobody is innocent in 2017. There is not an innocence unless you are alone in Alaska and you never see another human being again.
Where my children will be.
I get really upset about this because I see Christian parents going la 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 la, and they close their eyes and they close their ears, and then their kids end up either addicted to porn or molested or somewhere. When we were kids, it wasn't as prevalent. Okay, I grew up in the 80s. It wasn't as big of a deal. So that's the mindset that you're coming from. We are coming from 2017, where and I bring up my other page here.
Still, it goes without saying, as a parent, it's always good to watch something first.
That's like telling people, honestly, like, we know that turmeric works, but go to your doctor and just make sure that everybody else has to say.
Every parent knows their own children, and you can watch it first, and that way you can already have answers in your head.
I don't think parents know their own children. You watch it first, and then definitely watch with your kids. I don't think that parents know their kids.
I agree with
because out of everybody that we know, these good, honest, loving parents not only didn't do anything once their kids were molested.
Yep.
They just blasé loved and still they still have dealings with the molesters. I can count. I don't have enough hands for the good parents who still have dealings with their children's molesters. So no, Michelle, you've got to get them while they're kids and know their parents don't understand because these are good parents.
Well, they seem like good parents.
Like of celebration of
this
life and joy and love.
These are good parents.
Life.
Okay, but our viewers are not these people.
By their own, and I think that's a really profound.
This is the library drag queen thing.
And for these drag queens, it's an opportunity for them to interact with the kids, allowing their curiosity to lead.
Allowing them to interact with the children.
That's going to be a normal thing for kids to see queer people being themselves and being out there.
So what do the little ones think about this fairy tale presentation?
But you have to stop yelling because it's
sorry.
About different skin colors. I liked that they had pink and purple hair.
The Storytime event was inspired by similar ones taking place in the U.S. It's seen as a creative way to promote literacy development.
No, a creative way to promote literacy development.
Opening up the conversation about what it means to be a boy or girl in today's society.
You don't want somebody
even more events like these.
Telling your kid what it means to be a boy or girl.
Events like this that will happen, and just the more open our children will become and creative and outgoing.
The more open your children are going to become, they're going to be molested. Guaranteed.
Very true. The event has taken place in Toronto. You can bet it won't be the last.
A woman reached out to me and wanted to collaborate on putting together a proposal with the Toronto Public Library so that we can make this an ongoing free event for parents and children.
It's not just going to happen like in Canada, though. It's headed.
Oh, it's everywhere. It's all over the United States.
So
it's in California.
In the world of just integration of all of society.
Not okay.
So, okay.
Dressing up, not okay.
All right, so for those of you that don't know, Leah and I, because we are sisters, we're not actually disagreeing. When it boils down to it, we usually almost always come to the same opinion.
We're obviously always say the same
Please
thing.
do not think that we're actually disagreeing with each other because we're not. But I do think it's important to give both sides because I know you guys are having similar thoughts about this, but I do want to really emphatically agree with you on one thing, and that is that these parents, you included, that are watching, you think that you know your child. But if I, who was raised in an amazing Christian home with a mother of gold, can at one point meet boys online when I was much younger, if I can fall susceptible to that, and if I can keep that secret from my family, your children can too. All right, so you really don't know your own child when you think that you do.
To tell them,
I don't care if you think that you do.
Early as 2 and 3, because so many kids that I know have been in situations where they are thrust upon by other kids, sometimes older kids in the neighborhood, and as I'm telling you this, the stories in my head are coming to my head. I know another child who was cornered by a group of boys who were neighbors, and they said, "Show me your goods, show me your goods, show me your goods," or whatever. Terrified this kid. The parents moved out of that neighborhood.
That all flips on its head when you.
Okay, this happens all the time, and this is not helpful. This is our drag queen dudes. And Mark Dice actually just did a video on this.
I thought we were going to play the Mark Dice one.
Well, I have been researching the Drag Queen Story Hour for a while, and I brought up these links. Here's Drag Queen. This one to me is the scariest. This is Minnie Mouse Man with beard and full chest and back and arm hair, transgender man. That is scary. That's like having, the It Clown read to your children. Okay? That is really, really scary to me. And yes, I get really upset because very few parents are doing anything at all to stop this. And if anything, I would like to scare people out in the other direction.
Points out something really important, and Beth, thank you for sharing your thing.
So many drag kings with beards.
Yeah, well, that makes them trans. But she says mothers with new boyfriends are dangerous, sometimes with young children at home. And I find that this happens a lot of times with the moms that constantly get new boyfriends. My mom was like drop dead gorgeous, okay, when she divorced my dad. She still is, she has been, but she didn't date for our sake. She did not want men coming in and out of our lives, and it's one of the things that Leah and I are eternally grateful for, because we had friends with divorced moms who recycled
moms,
you know, and went through boyfriends all of the time.
This is a dude, by the way. This is Gender Fluid Mother's Day.
Stop it.
I guess the social construct of Mother's Day is this gender role of
This is another library. When I close it out, I'll let you know.
Traditionally, give mom a day off because she does all these domestic things for the household. But things are different, and some families don't have moms at all. They have either two dads or different people who play that role for them. And it's important to experience, you know, different gender and what that looks like.
Some families are big. Some families are small. You see the small baby?
That's creepy, dude.
Some families are the same color.
Stop it.
And some families are different colors. See all the colorful fish?
This is childhood
grooming.
Like, grooming.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
All families like to hug each other.
The parents that are like into this.
All families
My
like to
drag
hug
name
each
is
other.
also my mother's name, so it kind of hits home for me today.
See, that's really even more creepy.
Mother
his
has
drag
come
name
around
is his
and
mom's
supported
name.
me in my adult years, but seeing these young children, you know, tugging at my dress, looking at my jewelry, interested in me, parents, mothers wanting to take pictures with me, it would have been really life-changing to have a role model celebrating femininity, not, you know, traditional woman, with my mother around.
Femininity. The little Bo Peep hat doesn't
Happy
make you a
Mother's Day,
girl.
Mom.
Sorry.
You're the original gangster Ona.
I can't. It's too. It's, you know. It's not too much, but I guess it. Today, after having a person tell us their story,
and
it's
Gary had said, take your kids to church, not to the library. Well, I have to tell you, your kids are not even safe at church.
Yeah.
Because if your churches are like all of the churches that I have attended, okay, the scrutiny for the Sunday school workers there is none. Okay, it's non-existent, especially for the younger kids. If it's a Sunday school like Bible study class, then obviously you have to have some sort. But for the little kids, there really isn't any scrutiny. I ran into a good friend of mine that I had always wondered what happened to her. I was really good friends with her in junior high, and I ran into her at the grocery store like a year or two ago, and we talked for like 2 hours in the store, and she told me that at the local Christian school, I don't have a problem calling it out, the Milford Christian Academy or something like that, her gym teacher molested her when she was there. This is the place that if you live locally and you want to send your kids to a Christian school, this is where, well, it's one of, I meant local like Milford. That's where you send your kid. To the Christian school. I'm telling you, in today's day and age, if there weren't all of the other reasons to homeschool your kids that we've already given you, the fact that your kids are not safe at public school, they're not safe anywhere outside of your sight, I have to tell you.
Didn't want her in public school because they felt it was bad, so they put her in Christian school.
I'm telling you, there is no safe place for your children except for with you. And I don't care if people say, oh, you can't just keep your kids sheltered. If it came to the choice between your kid being molested and them just being sheltered, I would hope that you would choose sheltering your kid.
Shelter's not a bad word. Molestation
is. We all need shelter. It's a good thing.
So, Mark Dice put together a 3-minute video on the transgender library thing. So
called it the land of fruits and nuts. But now the demonic plague of liberalism has turned it into a place that is indistinguishable from an episode of The Twilight Zone. Libraries in San Francisco and Los Angeles are now hosting Drag Queen Story Hour, where drag queens come in and read books to the children to teach them about gender identity and diversity. This demonic-looking drag queen wearing a wedding dress and having horns come out of its head just read some stories to the children at the Long Beach City Public Library, which proudly tweeted out this thank you, saying that it was there to celebrate Drag Queen Story Time and LGBTQ ABCDEFG History Month. I'm sorry to tell you that this is not fake news or some satire from The Onion. This is actually happening, and liberals are actually bringing their children to these events.
Who wants to be a drag queen when they grow up? Who is ready for a story?
Who wants to be a drag queen when they grow up? That's called grooming because no child says that.
Because
ever.
how many kids in an audience always just raise their hand to that question? Who wants to? Me. Oh.
Who wants to be a porn star when you grow up? Me.
Oh my gosh. They just let him say that.
Go swish, swish, swish. Swish, swish, swish.
Are you serious right now?
And the parents are swishing with that.
This one's reading My Princess Boy, where the description on Amazon says, Dyson loves pink sparkly things. Sometimes he wears dresses. Sometimes he wears jeans. He likes to wear his princess tiara even when climbing trees. He's a princess boy. Word about Drag Queen Story Hour is starting to spread, and obviously normal people are quite upset about it. And this guy decided to respond to somebody who was critical of the Story Hour, saying that he loves the satanic drag queens, and that he's going to have 2 drag queens be the celebrity judges at his annual children's pumpkin carving. This demonic creature's name, Scott Wiener, rang a bell, and then it dawned on me. This is the California state senator who introduced the bill which Governor Jerry Brown just signed into law that makes it no longer a felony for gay people to purposefully spread HIV. This is literally the guy which introduced the bill, which is now law in California, which makes purposefully spreading AIDS as serious of a crime as slapping somebody in the face. Governor Jerry Moonbeam Brown also signed a new bill into law allowing people to list on their driver's license that they're not male or female. Now they have a third option that they're non-binary.
No.
By the way, Oregon recently put a similar law in place so that people can now choose X as their sex instead of male or female. Just X. All of this is very depressing, I know. So let's end this video by watching Megyn Kelly dance. Liberalism has been so devastating in 2017.
Her show, everybody's mocking her because she is trying to fill airtime.
And it's a morning show.
And they keep having these other Today Show hosts on there because she can't get guests.
Music in there, or I'd have some copyright issues with YouTube. But this is what happened to Megyn Kelly. Megyn, no! Megyn, please, snap out of it. You were the chosen one. Don't do this to us.
That was, I saw it. It was pretty, it was as bad as it sounds. Okay, so I have some good news, actually.
Yay!
Yeah.
All right, so hang on. Will points out something that it was always very disturbing to me. He says, like Teletubbies, so ambiguous. The dude Telly carries a handbag. The Teletubbies were always very creepy to me. There was something I didn't like about them.
So was Barney.
And Barney, the whole 9 yards.
This isn't the one I want.
These lunatics need locking up in a mental asylum. This garbage should be outlawed.
And it should. It definitely should. But the thing of it is that people get stuck in this whole social justice warrior thing. And I really feel like because it's election, everything that was going crazy for so long and we were all saying, oh my gosh, how can it get any worse? Okay, so the blood has stopped, but we have to heal the wound.
Yes, Patriot Gallery.
Did you talk about Hillary Clinton becoming president and then Sharia law was going to be enacted and pedophilia is going to be legalized?
That was a thing.
That was their plan, and they're still going with their plan.
Hillary,
yeah. It's all illegal.
You would think that people would stop at pedophilia, but they don't. Okay. I posted something about Sigmund Freud and his theories on child sexuality.
We covered that last week.
And they said, this person came back and said, no, children are sexual and children have sexual feelings towards their parents. And
as like infants and stuff.
As kids. And I said, and I quoted Freud back, some more craziness from Freud, and he said, no, I was sexually attracted to my parents or something like that. And I said, and as as kindly as I could, I said, this is not a put down to you, but if you have those kind of feelings to your parents, that's not normal, okay? That you were exposed to something or abused as a child, and it's called losing one's innocence.
Correct.
Which is why we are to keep children innocent, which is why Michelle's saying, don't maybe watch an open secret first and then show it to your kids. And I'm saying that in 2017,
the likelihood of your child actually retaining their innocence is slim.
Zero.
Slim.
Zero.
Slim.
Zero.
Slim.
Zero.
Slim.
In America, zero.
Slim.
In America, zero.
Slim.
Do you know anybody who's retained their innocence through their childhood? Do you know off the top of your head one person?
Yes.
Seriously?
Seriously.
I don't know one. And
Yes,
we
you
know
do.
the same people.
Yes, you do.
No. No, you don't know.
Yes, I do.
All right. We're going to argue on TV about it.
That's okay.
But you know what? That might have been one. But how many do you know that it had? What if they had seen a documentary like that? They would have been able to like turn people in.
Yes.
That's more important.
Yes, it is.
And I don't.
Patriot. Innocent songs in the grocery store take away children's innocence.
That's what I'm trying to say.
The songs are all satanic, even in
Yeah.
the grocery store.
Oh my gosh! So Leah and I were at.
So I don't think you see how desperately
You're right.
evil
Innocence,
this is,
I guess, is you're right. Innocence
everywhere.
You're right. Innocent. My mom was right with the magazines at the grocery store, just the songs that you're listening to.
Yeah.
Because we were at our local secondhand store and they were playing My Angel is a Centerfold, whatever song that is.
And everybody's going around in the store singing it.
And I'm thinking to myself, how is that song still allowed to be played? It's talking about porn. I mean, the entire song, and people sing it, and it's run rampant in our country.
Children have that
Most
playing
of
in their
those
ears.
songs from the 60s and 70s that everybody just loves, this soft rock. No, it wasn't soft rock, it was soft porn in the music.
And it gets into kids' ears, and then they, things like that. So,
Right.
But my good news is, see, I told you I'd get her come around. 60 have been arrested in Georgia in human traffic investigation. We are shutting down the pedophilia rings. We aren't, obviously. But they are. I'm going to play this here. After the ad in 30 seconds. So what do you have to say for 30 seconds?
I guess we could go to the comments. Let's see.
I do apologize if it seems like Michelle and I are arguing.
No, it's good because it's kind of, okay, so Fox Mulder says, ladies, you two are doing awesome work. Keep it up. These are all natural reactions many have watching any of these videos and the particulars of informing children with these topics in the 21st century, these tough topics. So it is a natural, and that's why I don't mind us having disagreements so that we can talk it through. I'm having the same thoughts that you're having. Leah's having a lot of the same thoughts that you're having. So we do need to talk it out together.
You have to have the yin
to
and
get
the
to
yang.
the truth.
Okay.
You have to.
Dozens of
I think it's really
children,
important.
including some right here in Metro Atlanta, who were
like
caught
having
up in the
discussion.
sex trade business.
Yeah, the nationwide operation called Operation Cross Country spanned 3 days, and it led to over 100 arrests. Fox 5's Morris Diggs is live at the Atlanta FBI.
And if you're wondering why you don't see this on CNN or MSNBC or anything like that, it's because they are the pedophiles behind it.
Exactly.
And
Ready?
of course, I would have clicked on something and
with another ad.
Double clicked. So sorry about that. Now I'm gonna have
For your website to make
No,
you
I'm
money?
not ready for the
Fox Digital
website.
Strategies delivers a complete suite of marketing.
Sorry, we don't have
Sometimes it'll tell you like you muted your TV, so we're gonna play the ad longer. Have you guys ever had that happen? Mark says Leah has a right to be this adamant and strident. You only get one shot with kids.
This is I have to upload the page. Sorry.
They will be patient and wait. Let me see here. Sorry. It depends on how strong your mind is. You can let it corrupt you or you can keep it out, says Cecilian Gal. Well said.
And it also depends on how much love you've received as a kid, and I wouldn't say that you can ever keep it out. I would say that God can put up a defense for you.
So Will says the FBI actually ran pedo site on dark web to catch many. There's a war going on inside the bureau for real.
Right here in Metro Atlanta, who were caught up in the sex trade business.
Yeah, the nationwide operation called Operation Cross Country spanned 3 days, and it led to over 100 arrests. Fox 5's Morris Diggs is live at the Atlanta FBI field office with the details for us. Morris?
Well, Atlanta leaders have a lot that they can tout that is proud and good things, positive about our city. But one thing that they're not proud about is the fact that the child sex trade continues to thrive here. So there was little doubt when agents across the street here participated in this nationwide roundup that they would recover some children.
If you want to stop all of this, stop what you're doing, stop this work.
Children are involved in illegal acts, but the FBI sees them as victims.
Hard to see her face from here, but on the ad she looks about 14.
And that is near the average age of individuals recovered in a combined sex sting operation across the country over a 3-day period. And cash, like so many unlawful activities, drives the human trafficking trade.
The most significant part of the operation is the recovery of child victims and adult victims of sex trafficking and getting them the services that they need to get out of this lifestyle.
3 minors were recovered in the Atlanta area, 58 people apprehended on prostitution-related charges. Agents raided motels and swarmed truck stops after getting intelligence about where the activity was taking place. The mid-October roundup is used in part to publicize the problem, but it is a daily danger for young people, including some under the age of 3.
This is something that we, with the Match Task Force, the FBI, and our law enforcement partners here in the Metro Atlanta area address on a day-to-day basis, 365 days a year. This 3-day event just is a small capture of the crime threat that's here locally in our community.
One big reason our area is a magnet for this activity is because of Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Customers come here from outside the country. Also, children are brought here to participate in the trade. Live in the Atlanta FBI headquarters, I'm Morse Diggs.
So, John Daniel says, and he points out, as the Jesuits said, give me a child until he is 7, and I will give you the man. They want to teach children about sexual debauchery so that they will grow up thinking it's normal and decent. Well said, John.
Yeah.
So, Mark says, what kind of animal gets kicks from a 3-year-old? What the heck are they putting in the water? Let's see. Redneck says, see, these sick folks don't understand words. You can argue till you are blue in the face and they don't care, but violence is a universal language. Will says, Tarantino is heavily involved with sex clubs in LA and has a membership much like. Let's see. MPs, this is what Justin says, worth a look. MPs get away with it until they die, then it comes out, and they are never arrested when they're alive, and that's in the UK, which is so, so true.
Okay, so the article I was trying to get back to, if you saw me clicking around, that was one piece of the article. 277 sex traffickers arrested, 84 minors recovered in a nationwide sweep.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
The FBI announced Wednesday it recovered 84 minors and arrested 120 suspects in a nationwide underage human trafficking operations. FBI agents in the Tampa field office recovered 1 minor and arrested 3 human traffickers. We at the FBI have no greater mission than protect our nation's children from harm, except for the Clintons. Unfortunately, the number of traffickers arrested and the number of children recovered reinforces why we need to continue to do this important work. And this to me is the Teen Challenge answer. Mm-hmm. It will not stop the problem, but it can help. Sydney.
I get her.
Okay. Go ahead, Mom.
Oh, just explain your decorations.
Oh, Michelle did fall decoration time. We just do folly stuff.
It's for Thanksgiving.
This is our pilgrim stuff.
We don't do Halloween.
We don't do Halloween,
It's
but
satanic.
we like harvesty.
And that's pedophilia.
Our pilgrim stuff's on the piano. We can show you that sometime. Pilgrims harvest God's awesome time celebrating. So for the opiate problem and the heroin problem, there's a lot of great programs to help people, and they should continue, and we need them. But until we get to the root of the problem, which is the debased nature of mankind, and Sydney moving the computer camera again. I love my Sydney. I got walked outside, and now I'm gonna come inside. So, but what is the answer? And our answer is Sydney again. We love Sydney, but our new setup.
It's still connected though.
Oh yay!
She's choosing to sit right there.
Setup here.
Love her. God love her.
Sydney and the dogs tend to knock it over for some reason. A lot easier than our other setup. So
so much fun.
She's just gonna hang out right there.
She is.
Right there. We're cut guy.
Wait, hang on.
We're cut guy.
I'm gonna get it. I don't even. And Sydney, there you go. She's gonna move.
All right.
And now I can get this.
I see the camera
patient.
sideways.
Be patient.
You're a little sideways,
I
y'all.
know I am.
They're patient people. Thank y'all.
I think they like it. At this point, they're almost going to think it's planned.
Nope, not planned. Not planned at all.
Okay. Sorry, people.
I'll
get it.
She'll get it. Okay, so I guess I'll just read more from the article where we're getting. Let's say we read the Georgia one. The U.S. News reported that 277 were arrested in a sweep including an Air Force veteran, a retired police officer, and a colonel in the Marine Corps, a cancer surgeon, a teacher, a pediatrician, an Air Force veteran, a retired police officer, and a colonel in the Marine Corps were among nearly 300 people arrested in Florida in a massive prostitution sting. The undercover human trafficking operation, which was called Operation No Tricks, No Treats, it ran for 5 days. Imagine if these operations are running 24/7. Imagine what we would see.
Right. So hang on though, because I'm going to be way behind on comments, but there's one I want to get to from Stacy from Rose of Sharon Homestead. She says, FYI girls, industrial farming is one of the biggest human traffickers. They drive up from Mexico, even here in Wisconsin, and out, and get them to work out on factory farms, the hotel and the restaurant business too. So I felt like that was really important. It's even in industrial farming with the Mexicans and things like that. Speaking of which, speaking of child innocence, Stacy's daughter is launching a new channel called the Homestead Kid, I think, which is absolutely fantastic. They do have a homestead, so I want you guys to go check it out. I will get the link and put it in the description. So there you go.
So this is their little map from An Open Secret, and you've got Isel Ethan Channel, convicted on lewd acts and misdemeanor battery. He's the Nickelodeon PA. I don't think that means Pennsylvania. Jason Michael Handley, Nickelodeon, lewd acts. Brian Peck, actor coach, lewd acts, all kinds of stuff. Mark Collins, producer. You've got a set teacher, a manager, photographer, manager, casting. They're all connected. And the guy has binders full. When he set out, he didn't know he was actually going to make a documentary. He thought he was going to do like a short. And then he realized he didn't make a full-length documentary because he had so many people who were willing to come forward. Wow. These pedophiles are hired and rehired, and they hire each other, and they work with each other. Because we have a society, and you guys, if you're watching us, you're not part of it, but you need to be, I think you need to be reaffirmed.
Yeah. Because
sometimes, and the truth is, when we see the transgender librarians, part of our brain says, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything because we don't want to offend people.
Right.
And what I was going to say before was that with the election, you guys, everything's turned and you can say whatever you want to say.
Yep.
The liberals will come out, but we're going to win. Before, Christians lost. We lost on abortion. We lost ground.
Yep.
We're taking back ground. So
I like that.
When they come up with the transgender library thing, you can call them out looking somebody straight in the face and saying, that is not normal. That's child pedophilia, and that guy needs a back wax.
Oh, God.
Okay?
Oh, jeez.
They should not. That shouldn't even be legal to walk around showing off body hair like that.
Okay, so one of our dearest friends, Ashley, says Annie Lobert, or Lobert, I don't know how to pronounce it, Hookers for Jesus, speaks at youth conferences and warns the teens that a lot of minors are targeted and trafficked off of social media. It's crazy stuff.
I can't even imagine having kids online now because the predators are
My kids also won't be online.
They're so easy just to get, and teenage girls especially, you get like one little comment or one little like, oh, you're so beautiful. And the next thing you know, you're meeting somebody online, and then the next thing you know, you're being trafficked.
Hold it. She's going over. She's going under. Did she make it past?
She did. So this ties into my Wonder Woman thing, and I wasn't really going to go into it right now. But how did this come about? We kind of need to go back in
hang on,
history.
I'll get it.
We kind of need to go back in history and see how this happened. It comes about because people in academia, all like the smart people, the so-called smart people who aren't really smart, they took over the colleges, and so they educated all these people in all these psychiatry and psychology, and they did, even though Freud has been debunked in so many ways, there are schools of thought that follow him, and the maker of Wonder Woman followed the Freudian thought and followed the Woody Allen. Woody Allen followed Freud, and that children are sexualized. And if you believe that children are sexual, then the next jump is, well, and this is what pedophiles believe.
Exactly.
Pedophiles believe that children are sexual and can consent.
Yep.
Okay? Now, the step below that is that children are sexual, right? And then there are other little steps below that, and we don't want to call out homosexuals or anything like that, but I was talking to a friend today who has a relative who is homosexual, and some of you guys are homosexuals, and I'm glad to have you here, but you have to recognize that for a lot of people who are in homosexual relationships, it's kind of like with the Teen Vogue magazine that taught kids anal sex, because
if you guys haven't seen that segment that we did, you need to go back and watch it. You can just literally go probably to our videos and search it.
Teen Vogue, anal sex. I think it's in there. But anyways, these are things that they're trying to teach kids, because only quote unquote 3% of the population is homosexual, but if one person teaches another person something and teaches another person something, and they're teaching kids these things and adults, and they're trying to bring people into their ranks and trying to get people to do things that it wouldn't come naturally if two people were on an island and grew up together, and then things would just go naturally. It boggles my mind. I was having a conversation with a friend. You need to be taught these things. No, actually, we have a farm. I didn't teach my pigs how to do things. I don't teach my rooster how to do things. And despite what any sex ed teacher teaches you, you tell kids, if you do this, babies will come. Because they might not know that part. But people, the human race has continued on since the beginning of time.
Right.
Without sex education, because people just know what to do. And then the devil, the Bible talks about people are given over to a reprobate mind. So the devil begins to say, why don't you try this? And why don't you try this? And so you have a segment of the population that is unfortunately polluted, and they want to feel normal. So then they try to get the other parts of the population to do the things they're doing. Like in the Teen Vogue, under 15 years old, they have a Vogue magazine. Okay, Teen Vogue, and teaching kids to stick smaller things in their rears.
Okay, yep.
This is for young children.
Yep.
To stretch out their rear.
Oh boy.
Okay, and they also said, well, girls, you probably won't enjoy this at all. It'll probably be uncomfortable, and you probably hate it. But you should get started now, because eventually you'll be 20 or 22, and your homosexual husband might want to do things with you.
Stop it.
These kind of people don't actually care about marriage anyways.
Stop it.
So my point is, they start with kids. That Teen Vogue magazine will mess up thousands of children.
Yes, and it's out there, and it's allowed, and parents, these like hip thinking moms, like want their daughters, if they're reading Vogue, they want their daughters to read the Teen Vogue. They actually, a lot of these twisted moms want their daughters to be sexually active, and it's really sad.
And what it comes down to is that if the devil hates families, the devil hates love, the devil hates God's children being healthy, and so he's done everything to try to break it down. Margaret Sanger was demon possessed. obviously, the maker of Wonder Woman, he was demon possessed. His literal goal, he was a psychologist or whatever, his literal goal was to sexualize people. The whole whip thing, the boots, the lesbian themes that the vibes that you're getting from Wonder Woman, it's real. It's really real.
So Lisa pointed out something, and she said that, homosexuality and pedophilia are two different things, and that a lot of times homosexuals hate pedophiles as much as the rest of us.
Absolutely.
And you are spot on. However, if you have a pedophile man that is going after little boys, let's say a priest, we have a homosexual pedophile.
Right.
Because if a man, children are not single gendered. They're not just like this one gendered thing where it doesn't matter to them. They have preferences. They want the boys because they are homosexual pedophiles. And unfortunately, homosexuals are committing a massively disproportionate amount of pedophilia in our country.
Absolutely.
And so that's why, because a lot of boys, here's the thing, boys are molested more than girls, contrary to the statistics, because boys don't report it as much. But boys are molested more than girls, but boys are often molested way more often molested by men than by women. It's very, very rare.
It's a new thing for the 30-year-old women to be molesting these 16 and 17-year-old boys.
It happens, but I'm just saying,
they're not really
when
being
you're
molested.
looking at the chunks, when you're looking at the stats, when you're looking at the actual numbers, you're seeing homosexual male on young boy pedophilia by and large. That's what you're seeing even more than men molesting little girls.
And the number of their victims is much, much higher. And it's a very sticky road to walk when you are trying to oust out pedophiles, and in talking about the unnatural nature of homosexuality and how for most people you have to be introduced into homosexuality, that it doesn't come naturally. I for the sake of argument with people, I'm going to grant somebody born with a feeling, right? But for that sake of argument, even like Milo Yiannopoulos has come out and said, maybe there's nature, but there's also nurture, and he believes, point blank, he said on Joe Rogan's show, I was nurtured into homosexuality. I was not born a homosexual.
And that's the thing that really is sad in society.
He was molested by a priest.
You're not allowed to talk about the nurture.
Right.
Okay, and the research that I have done, and not only the research, but the actual personal experiences and interactions with homosexuals and people that I know, almost always it was nurture. I've actually never run into a person, a homosexual, that has told me, no, I was born this way. Usually it's a conversation that happens and then they're like, well, I really was molested.
And at the same time, then it does create the idea of homosexuals, older homosexuals. Take Liberace, for example.
And you did an incredible expose on him, and I'm wondering if we shouldn't bring back that blog and do it in a video.
Maybe. Liberace was an old dude who had a fondness for young dudes. And he brought around, and he had a manager who would go find young boys for Liberace. And he would find them young enough, just as they are 18. Because everybody says, oh, they're street legal, or they're this or they're that. If you're just waiting for somebody to just turn 18, you have a problem. It's wrong, right? And there was a young dude that you see in all the pictures, Liberace, and he has come out later. He's a tall, blonde guy. And a very sick relationship where Liberace felt like he would say, I'm your father. He actually had the young boy go through plastic surgery to make him look like Liberace so that he was his father. So he literally was having a fantasy of having these sexual relations with a young boy who was not homosexual. Okay, he wasn't a homosexual.
Right.
But he was brought in and paid money and treated good, which is what it's called, grooming for your own the lights, and this
Right.
is what wealthy people do.
Yeah.
They do it for children. They do it with people.
Right.
That's why you see all these beautiful women with rich men, because they'll offer you things, and if you're willing to give yourself for things in return. But anyways, this was a young man who Liberace, sex slave or whatever, who didn't really have a lot of parents, and these people, Weinstein even had people bringing women to him.
Right.
And when the rich and the famous have, they prey on the young and the vulnerable. There was one woman a psychologist who sat down with pedophiles in jail and found that for the pedophiles, the average victim was like 200. He had like 200 victims admitted, and it wasn't just one guy; it was an average.
Right.
Whereas the average straight pedophile doesn't have the vast number. And so it's kind of like we're talking about Islamic terror. Do all Muslims commit Islamic terror? No,
Right.
but they commit a disproportionate amount of terrorist attacks.
Right.
And so with the homosexuals, I don't have the numbers with me, but
The Family Research Council does.
Homosexuals are like 3 or 4% of the population committing over like 50% of the molestations or something like that.
So Lisa, she is one of my favorite commenters on here. And we are having a little bit of a disagreement, and I want to explain why. Because she is still convinced that, and you're totally entitled to your opinion, your experiences may be completely different than ours, that it's pedophilia versus homosexuality, that they are completely different. And I have to disagree just on personal experience alone, because in my mind, as an adult female, there is an impossibility of me being attracted to children. However, there is an even more impossibility of me being attracted to a female child, because I have zero homosexual feelings. All right. So when you have these men molesting little boys, they almost, from what I understand, from our experience and research, these men only want little boys. I have watched documentary after documentary and interview after interview with these homosexual pedophiles. They won't touch a little girl. They don't want a little girl. Okay, so there are pedophiles that do. They don't care. They take a little boy, they'll take a little, but by and large, a lot of the pedophilia that is happening is men that are homosexual preying on little boys. And I'm wondering if now wouldn't be a good time, or we can do it another day and do just a complete sit-down interview and let Matt tell his testimony. But I'm going to give a little brief summary. Kansas, who is part of our family, who lives here in our basement. He does a lot of our farm maintenance and things like that. But he's a part of our church. He literally is a family member of ours. But he came out of a family that completely is dying out almost, because it started with pedophilia that went both ways. The girls were molested and the boys were molested. So there you are. But almost every single one of the children that were molested turned into homosexuals. Almost every single one of them. And we're talking a big, large family that had 8 kids, and then they had 6 kids from that or something like that.
Some of them didn't have children. They adopted children.
And then their adopted children became homosexual as well. 2, 3, 4, 5 kids that were adopted became homosexual. So obviously it's not genetic, because they became homosexual as well. Now Matt's dad and his uncle both molested him. His dad was heterosexual or bisexual, in my opinion, because he would molest his little boys. But his uncle was a homosexual and had a homosexual partner
who died of AIDS,
but also went to jail for molesting a little boy. So,
and the family covered it up. They said, "Oh, we never did it. He was set up."
Matt's story is incredible, and he saw it with the family reunions. They would have big orgies. A family reunion was really a time for all of the homosexuals to get up.
What they say, at one family reunion, they stood up and praised the matriarch lesbian for allowing everyone else to be homosexual. And so you can prey on people. You got to bring people into your ranks.
Yes.
That's what this family did.
And it is the homosexual society. So they would go, and then they would go to the gay bars. And Lisa, unfortunately, I'm just not sure if you haven't done the research that we have, but when I listen to people in the gay community that come out, They say it's almost all pedophilia. They almost, and when I say that, I mean the ones that get involved with like the nightclubs and get into the gay scene. We have homosexual viewers that have one partner and they're not like that. Okay, so I do want to differentiate. But when you're in that homosexual scene, it's about orgies and it is about pedophilia. It's not about monogamy, right? It's not about just staying with one partner. It's about, you know, so I'm just saying like we have Liberace. He was a homosexual that preyed on young men. Same thing when we see with the priests.
And the same thing, like Milo. Milo said that not only did the priests prey on him and turn him into a homosexual, which he is a homosexual. He's now attracted to men. That's what he is. But he said he didn't start out that way.
Right.
But he said then, as a young boy, I think he said 17, an older man brought him under his wing. And that is what happens a lot of times with homosexuality. So we have to be able to call that out. If you know a person who came out as a homosexual as an adult and met another adult and they are living in a monogamous relationship,
right,
then that is different.
Yeah.
Okay? But we have to be able to call out perversion where it's at.
Right.
And for the most part, when you hear from homosexuals, they have multiple partners, okay, and not all of them, but multiple partners. And this is when we're talking about Islam and Muslims. It gets really murky because once you start to say a majority of people, it's kind of like if I walk downtown and I'm in a majority black neighborhood, I am going to roll up my windows. Does that mean I'm racist? No, it means that in those particular neighborhoods, it's well known that there is crime.
Right.
Okay? There are neighborhoods, white neighborhoods that are poor that I roll up my windows on as well.
Right.
Okay?
So, no, finish your thought.
No, it's tricky when we're talking about homosexuals. It's kind of like love the sin or hate the sin.
Right.
There are different levels of sin. There is good, bad, worse. I mean, there are heterosexuals who watch porn. There's heterosexuals who have homosexual relationships. The Bible shows us that man was not created to lie with man, but man, you know, people were created to do a lot of things. It doesn't mean that we can't have relationships with people or friendships with people. No. And so we have to be able to balance.
Right.
Christianity is all about balancing and being able to call things out with our own, what we see.
Right.
What we experience.
Right.
Okay. I have experience with being around homosexuals who, by and large, friends, who all they can talk about and think about is sex. All their jokes are sexual. Right. They're great people. I've known some, but they can only think about sex. And with Matt, his whole family, you know, they had underground systems and they had child porn and child gay porn and things like that. And for a homosexual male, the ideal gay porn, if you wanted to Google it, it's all young, skinny boys around the ages of 17 and 18 years old.
Right.
Gay porn, you don't see the big burly guy with, you know, the fat guy and the old man who eventually they become they always, and we've talked to and we've seen videos with gay men saying how hard it is for them to go to the gay bars because they can't seem to find a date because everybody wants the young, hot, homosexual dudes.
Right.
And
so Lisa, to get back to Lisa, because she said that she did get straight A's in psychology, and I had forgotten that, Lisa, and she said she's going to leave a little bit more in the comment section, and I encourage you guys to go and read Lisa's comments. Hopefully she'll put them in there. However, I do want to hit on something that I think is really important as far as psychology goes in modern education. I don't know when you were educated, if it was, you seem like a very young, beautiful lady, but if you were educated beyond the early 1900s in psychology, there is an agenda that they have pushed to teach us all. And we have studied psychology extensively, especially in these areas, in the areas of multiple personalities disorder and dissociative identity disorder and things like that.
And childhood abuse.
Childhood abuse. We have studied this stuff extensively. And so we know that in the modern psychology classes, they want to differentiate. It is their goal to differentiate homosexuality from pedophilia, because the society push, they know that for right now, they're not going to get the pedophilia thing passed. They're trying, but they're not going to get it. But they, in order to get there, to open the gateway, they have to get us to agree that, you know what, well, it's just not, the mindset is different between homosexuality and pedophilia.
But like, again, that's something that you can read in a psychology book and everything like that. If you go back, a lot of it's really twisted based on Sigmund Freud and all these, Marcuse and the
but when you
sexual
listen
revolution.
to the actual testimonies, there's one thing reading it in a book, because we've done the same thing, read it in a book. But when you're actually talking to these people that have lived it, that have been in these societies, you realize that it's far different than what we've been taught.
In today's generation, a lot of people hear about they want to take our guns away to make us all communists and they'll have power over us. But before they did that, they took God out.
Yep.
They took morals out. And we say we don't lean on the right or the left. We
lean on the Word of God.
The Word of God will explain psychology to you.
Right.
But they had to take morals out of society. So if anybody's educated today, they have no morals. When you think about God, you can't justify the act of homosexuality.
True.
The Bible says it's a knowledge of God.
Yep.
That people forget, and then they become homosexuals.
Very true.
Or they do unnatural things because they're not thinking about nature. They're not thinking about animals how they procreate, and that you're supposed to
And
procreate.
here's the thing about being a Christian, if I may, because Patriot Gallery opened this up, we are supposed to all be about self-sacrificing, right? And obeying God and just doing what God wants us to do. And so if God created a perfect way for things to be and you feel one way, we must put God's will first before fulfilling our own flesh. And that crosses all boards of lust and sin and perversion.
The years in 1900s, the communists and socialists did everything they could to take God out of society.
Yep.
Because if you destroy somebody's morals, you destroy the country. And you destroy
the
their
whole framework
ability to
crumbles.
defend themselves. And so what they did in the 1900s, they started public school to take God out of the minds of children. That's why we have all these problems today.
I agree.
When you go back and you're studying the Founding Fathers, remember, all they knew was God. All they knew was Jesus Christ. All they talked about was everything in the Bible and freedom and liberty. And so when you forget God, you can easily accept these lies of college education.
It's the only way to accept them, really.
But remember, all higher education has been, it's kind of like saying I have a degree in history. No offense, but I probably know more about history than somebody who studies history, because they literally, I know where they went back into history. I know there's the tapes, the Norman Dodd tapes, where the Carnegie, Rockefellers, and Ford literally went in and had people, they had a fellowship to rewrite the history books and to take things out. It's well documented. Who's my favorite? Underground history education. So when it comes to psychology, a lot of that is based on the communist mindset. And if you read the paper, you're going to go to school and you're going to read what they wanted you to learn. But now, I would encourage you to flesh out your reading about the people creating the books. Okay? I might not have read all the books, but I have read what the people creating the books. Karl Marx is a basis for a lot of psychology. Sigmund Freud, I've read a lot of his writings. That man was insane. But so much of that got into modern psychology and modern even therapy.
Yes.
And it's this communist mindset. It's what Karl Marx and Marcuse and what a lot of these guys, even the guy who I don't have off the top of my head, Professor what's his name and his Wonder Women, what these guys, they came over from the Frankfurt School, okay? All these guys came over from the Frankfurt School in Germany. The whole Prussian education took over our education system. And the idea was, and it's in their writings, I have read their writings that the psychology books are based on, okay? And their writings say things like, we want people to have sex in a way that is not procreative.
Right.
What is that? A lot of it is homosexual. So they encourage it. That's why the feminist movement, especially in the 60s, encouraged a lot of lesbianism. Now, of course, you see a lot of less lesbians than homosexuals because there is something that homosexuals can do. Lesbians have to make things up.
And here's another thing, though. Not to hit, because you're talking about the push, right? A non-procreative sex. To me, it's not actually sex, but when you go back to the Teen Vogue magazine, one thing that they don't care about is the fact that anal sex produces cancer.
Yeah, a lot more cancer. So does the oral sex.
And so you're going to get sick. And this is not a healthy thing. It's very dangerous.
They did say that in the thing.
Then why would you promote it? You actually should say, don't ever do this. Right. That's what Teen Vogue should be coming out and saying.
It's kind of like saying, don't stick a hammer in your ear.
Stop it.
Don't stick something in your ear.
When you get loud, you're sticking a hammer in their ear.
And that's the thing with homosexuality.
We're going to order a new mic.
Unfortunately, and I'm going to lose all my homosexuals and maybe even you, Lisa. And I hope not. But God designed an innie and an outie. Okay? One of the things, like the girl even said in the magazine, is when you're having anal sex, there will be poop. You're just going to have to get over it.
It's disgusting.
However, we all know that more diseases are contaminated with poop.
Yeah.
Any person in their right mind, if they had another person's poop on them, would scream in terror and go and wash their hands.
Right.
How is that an enjoyable sexual experience? You have to be broken in your mind first, and you have to lose the idea of I am with you and you're with me and we are coming together to create something beautiful. I have a part. I am a key and you are a lock.
Well, technically you'd be the lock.
So, and whatever. It's like just like with the plumbing. And so with God did not create. You know, he didn't create a manual for the rear end to be a sexual orifice.
All right, so we are at hour 15.
Wow.
Let's get to the rest of the news. We can talk about this all day.
Lose all our homosexual viewers.
No. I think they have stood with us.
And we have homosexual viewers, and I want you to be here. But I am first and foremost a Christian.
Yes.
And first and foremost, I actually believe from Genesis to Revelation. So my worldview is Christianity. But it doesn't mean that I hate you. And it doesn't mean that every homosexual is a pedophile.
Right.
Okay? Absolutely does not believe that. But, like, I really want to
say.
It doesn't mean that every homosexual is a pedophile.
I absolutely does not believe that.
I actually, whatever I said. My point is it's just like with Islam or Muslims. I do not believe that all Muslims are bad people. Okay? I believe that many Muslims want to find God and find Jesus. Okay?
A Squirrel says that he's literally waking people up right now laughing.
Okay. So, but we have to be able to call it out that the homosexual males are a danger. Just like if I'm walking downtown and I see a bunch of thug-looking black kids, I am going to say a prayer or roll up my window. I am not racially profiling.
You're thugly profiling.
Because I could be walking next to maybe some black football players in a football uniform. I'm not afraid of them.
All right, so
or something like that.
We're putting lock on this one with the last comment from Beth. Says abstinence is the best form of birth control.
Yes.
Well said. Lee and I haven't had any babies yet. You want to know why?
Abstinence is the best form.
Abstinence is the best
and we've
form.
Never murdered a child either. Thank you.
I just want to bring it back that we love everybody. And
yes.
We've all been broken by public school.
Yes.
Absolutely. Doesn't mean we're better than anybody else.
Setting us all free. The truth is setting us all free. We're all being red-pilled. But if you have a blue pill in any area of your mind, you're going to have a mental problem.
Right.
So we love homosexuals. We love people who have drinking problems. Any kind of problem you might have. Some people are sick. It's the truth that heals, the truth that makes us better. So we have to stay together as broken sinners.
I have a friend who's a pedophile.
Yeah.
I have a friend. I know a person who is attracted to children. We love this person. There's not much else I can do.
We're not going to have this person in our life again.
I'm not going to have this person. We worked with this person, tried to work with this person for years. This person is hopefully in a safe place right now that we have helped this person get to.
Yep.
We love all people.
Yes.
I believe in people who are trying to do the right thing. This person was messed up as a kid.
Everybody was purposely manipulated, tortured, brainwashed by public school. Every advertising, every movie is meant to break us down
Yep.
and make us weak and susceptible to these addictions and problems and health problems. If people just knew farming is the healthiest way you can live,
Yes.
get married and have children, that's the healthiest life. If you want to be healthy and you don't have mental problems, first of all, you have to love God and you have to come to God and ask to be forgiven. But from that point on, you start taking red pill every day. You find the truth every day and wait before God every day.
Now,
that's the only way you're going to be healed.
we do need to wrap up this segment. However, I really do think it should round off with this because they're saying Leah is the thuggiest. Leah hangs out the window throwing gang signs and waving her gold chain at them. LOL. Now, little known fact that you don't know about Leah. And while I bring the volume down, I'll let you know, when we get the new mic, we'll get loud again. Because the only reason we can't be loud is because it cracks and it bursts your ears. But with a regular microphone, I think we can be loud again and it won't bother you. So we used to do, Guts Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma does a Christian, they call it a haunted house, but it's not. It goes through the, 7 stages of the death for teenagers or whatever, and then they present Jesus Christ dying on the cross at the end. It's a really cool thing that they do. Now they have a gang scene in one of them. Leah did the gang scene, meaning they would have people come through and they would line them up, like hundreds and thousands a night. And so Leah's job was to be the thug and get up in their faces. And you had some really cool things that you would say to the people. You told them they smelled like dirty underwear.
Homeless man's underwear.
Homeless man's underwear. Now, you weren't supposed to wear your costume home. That was one of the rules. But Leah did. Because they were her own clothes that she wore. And we went to a convenience store one night. And Leah was in character. I mean, she was just hardcore, man.
I've been yelling at people all night long.
And so we pull up our car next. It's like 1, 2 in the morning, probably. And next to these little teenage girls in the back seat. And they're all holding like a can of beer, kind of like this. Like
literally, they're holding it
and they're
like
like
this.
Looking like this. There's like 3
down.
of them. Now, they couldn't have been older than 14 years old.
Maybe 15.
And they're holding their little can of beer, and these 2 guys that had to be in their 20s,
obviously,
went inside to get more beer. And Leah is kind of looking. And then you went inside.
No, I didn't. I stayed there.
You were there?
I stayed there.
Now, you started talking to the little girls first.
I can't remember the whole story.
And she started to tell them, you don't want to be in this situation, okay? You need to get out of this situation. This is a really bad situation. And then the guys come out. And then Leah lays into them.
Then I get out of the car.
Then she gets out of the car and we're all going, oh, geez, she got out of the car. She got out of the car. And she just, what are you doing with those little girls in the back of the car? You know, and I mean, she just goes off. And they didn't really have anything to say. I think they just
they jumped in the car.
And just sped off and sped away. So now you know, I mean, Leah, she had her gang. I mean, she was like up in their faces and it was awesome. She looked like she was the thuggiest. So when you say that, you need to know.
I'm hoping that those young girls got themselves out of the situation. I
Leah the Thugginator.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's your extra.
I was only like 19 or 20 at that time.
Go get them.
Returning jihadis allowed back, not prosecuted, as not all are dangerous. ISIS supporting scum should be left out to rot, but many allowed to plead ignorance. This is from the West Monster. Plead ignorance and return. This is obviously in the UK. The government's terrorism watchdog has insisted that those who join ISIS abroad out of naivety shouldn't be prosecuted when they return, and indeed it seems as though hundreds already have come back. Max Hill, who is the independent reviewer of terrorism legislation, has said, that means that the authorities have looked at them hard and have decided that they do not justify prosecution. Really, we should be looking at reintegration and moving away from any notion that we are going to lose a generation from this. Hill followed up on Twitter, insisting that MI5 and police don't prosecute some returnees because they assess not all are dangerous despite travel. So, what do you think? Do you think those who fought for ISIS in jihad should be allowed to return?
No.
Report. Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton asked permission from Hillary's State Department to meet with Russian nuclear officials at the time of your uranium deal. The uranium deal thing we're going to keep bringing to you. It is dripping and it's dripping and it's dripping, but the mainstream media keeps trying it old news. There's new news coming out, and there is a key witness, an eyewitness that Senator Grassley has called upon. Right now, as far as we know, Jeff Sessions has not released the gag order that the FBI put on this key witness that could bring down the entire FBI. It's insane. Jim Comey is a part of this. Mueller is a part of this. Rosenstein is a part of this. Everybody is a part of this. I'm sorry, I don't know if I have everybody. Here's the gag order one here.
Senior Fellow at the London Center for Policy Research. Tony, it's great to see you, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Let's start with these revelations that keep coming as a result of what is some terrific reporting on the part of Sarah Carter, John Solomon, and Peter Schweizer, importantly, who laid the foundation of this reporting. The idea that the Trump administration will not lift the gag order, that it's the Trump Justice Department now. Why can't they simply lift this gag order and let this informant speak to the Judiciary Committee, the Intelligence Committees, and start moving on the investigation where I would think they would want it directed in their own interest?
Well, there's nothing legally holding this guy back except this so-called agreement. I was talking to Victoria Tonsing, his attorney, the other day, and look, Victoria has made the point, I think repeatedly, this guy has the goods, he has critical information necessary for both Congress to do its appropriate oversight role, and frankly, Lou, what I think Department of Justice is afraid of, and the FBI is, they're going to be shown to have taken a side and acted politically behind the scenes when factually the evidence was clear that certain members of the Barack Obama administration not only abetted the Russians taking control of a critical national resource.
I understand why the Obama administration wouldn't want this informant speaking. I understand why they've even gone to the extent of apparently constructing a non-disclosure that has criminal penalties, which is, to the knowledge, as I understand it, of nearly every attorney, never been done before. Usually it's civil penalties. But I don't understand why Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General of the Trump Justice Department, isn't lifting that non-disclosure right now and freeing this informant to tell the Judiciary Committee, the Intelligence Committees, and indeed the American people everything he knows about what appears to be one of the most extraordinary cover-ups in this country's history.
It is a cover-up, and in this case, Mr. Sessions can actually remove the restriction with literally a stroke of the pen, basically vacating that so-called non-disclosure agreement. So, Lou, what I believe is happening, I don't know this for a fact, is that you probably have career members at Justice and at the FBI who were fully involved in this. We're talking about Comey, we're talking about McCabe, we're talking about Rosenstein, probably all full.
Andrew Weissman, I mean,
all these guys are part of the cover-up. So I think Sessions is probably being.
But you're talking about now a special counsel whose members have been involved in it, who are decidedly acting against the interest of this government.
And the guy inviting and investigating Russian collusion, a guy named Mueller, is probably the one who was colluding. And this is what's so insane about this, and frustrating for all of us. So the only thing I can say is that President Trump has to find a way to invoke his authority and to override Jeff Sessions, period. That's what's got to be done.
Somebody had said, I don't know if it was Gary, but Sessions needs to grow a backbone.
I don't know what's going on with Sessions. Is he being, blackmailed?
I don't know. Because, in the beginning, I kind of liked him.
Yeah.
But now I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about Sessions. I mean,
yeah, it's pretty weird. Crime of unbelievable dimensions. Attorney says Trump dossier could have staggering implications for the Obama DOJ. Where did it really come from? Who funded it? Most importantly, did the Obama administration use it as a pretext to spy on Trump officials? If a FISA warrant was obtained using the dossier, it could have staggering implications because the Russians helped fund that dossier.
Right.
So
now, when we say the Russians, though, it's kind of, I love that this whole Russia collusion, everything that's Russia is like, do you know, I mean, Russia's kind of a big country.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people and there are a lot of kind of Soviet holdovers that are still there. So, because somebody had left a comment, they're like, you know, I was really kind of pro-Putin and now I don't know and all this stuff. I have to tell you, what Putin is doing for his country, I am still behind it. That man is trying to invoke God into his country. He's trying to bring his people back to farming. He's casting out the GMOs and the Roundup, and he's pro-family. I see all of those things as something that can only be done by a man that is trying to turn toward God.
Right. I believe this might be Glenn Simpson, a co-founder of Fusion GPS. That's the firm behind the debunked Russian dossier to smear Trump. Refuses to tell Congress who the political sources are that commissioned the salacious document. Fusion GPS also stands behind the dossier, a lawyer from the firm said at the end of a 10-hour interview given by founder Glenn Simpson. Mr. Simpson told Congress the truth and cleared the record on many matters of interest to congressional investigators. He also kept the identities of Fusion GPS clients confidential. And so he's still saying nobody did anything wrong. It's the Keygate.
Of course
but there's a lot wrong with this thing.
Patriot Gallery.
Putin has to ride the fence. He's doing everything slowly, changing everything into a Christian country. But to go totally Christian and no communism, you have to give up like nuclear power.
Right.
And you have to give up electricity. I don't think he's ready to do that. So he's kind of straddling the fence.
Right.
Part of him looks globalist because of electricity and nuclear and armies and war.
Right, I agree.
Another part of him, he's setting a people free. He cares about the people. He knows he wants his people healthy. He wants them farming, and he wants lots of babies.
He wants lots of Oreskis. So Will says that he found out that Kissinger, however you want to say it, is advising Putin as well as Trump. He saw this from several sources the other day. Weird. So that's a possibility, and that guy is very shady.
So there was a radio show with Hugh Hewitt. He asked Senator Ron Johnson on reports that former FBI Director James Comey may have prematurely drafted a memo exonerating Hillary Clinton. And he says, what about the Comey letter, the May memo before the July decision? Does it give you qualms, Senator Johnson? Absolutely. My committee is trying to get to the unredacted testimony from those FBI agents to get more information. There's a number of committees trying to get to the truth of it as well. Last question, do you believe that the existence of that draft memo undermines Jim Comey's testimony to the extent that it might go into question its truthfulness before the Senate? He says, yes. I always thought the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails was never designed to really get to the bottom of it. I thought it was always designed to exonerate her so that it seemed obvious to me, and now we're getting more and more evidence is probably the fact and that he might be in trouble. Some have said that he might have perjured himself. So, yeah, there's a lot with that. I wanted to put this up here. I thought this was interesting. Swedish politicians call for army to be deployed. Army to be deployed to no-go zones to keep the peace. 20 members of the moderate party in Sweden have proposed the government deploys the armed forces in some of the country's most dangerous no-go zones to combat gang violence. The moderate party politician Mikael Cederbratt made the proposal this week, saying the situation in our areas of exclusion has deteriorated. The gangs have taken over and the police have had to retreat. Swedish law no longer applies there. Cederbratt was backed up by 19 other moderate party members who signed a motion to deploy members of the Swedish armed forces in the heavily migrant populated Stockholm suburbs. Happen? I don't know. They say it's absolutely necessary. They like to burn cars.
I agree, yeah.
It's like their favorite thing to do.
But here's the thing. I don't think that it can happen. I don't think that they can send in an army to the no-go zones. It would create war within Sweden, and it would show the migrants, refugees, whatever you want to call them, in the horrific light that they actually are. And Sweden can't have that. It is much easier and much more to their benefit to leave the no-go zones alone.
Poland's Minister of the Interior, the migration crisis is caused by irresponsible leaders like Angela Merkel. I love this face. She has this puppy dog face, but like I saw a meme under this kind of face that she gives. It says, The face you make when you realize you ruined an entire continent.
I don't know, because she wants to ruin the continent, so it should be happier than that.
Well,
Patriot
when it comes
Gallery.
to Sweden, I was thinking that the whole idea of putting Muslims in with Christians is to start civil war.
True.
But Sweden, the people wouldn't fight.
Right.
So Sweden has called the army, which would be the right thing to do.
Right.
Instead of the people rising up and having a civil war against the Muslims who are raping and molesting and doing gang rape, let the army take care of this foreign army, because the Muslims are a foreign occupying force in Sweden, so you need an army to fight an army.
Sure.
That's the right thing to do.
So, I'm really going to butcher this Polish name. Mariusz Blaszczak is Minister of the Interior of Poland and member of the ruling Law and Justice Party. In a statement on Polish national television, he says that the migrant crisis is the most serious problem affecting Europe, and that it was caused by irresponsible actions of some of the European leaders. He mentions Merkel and her open door policy that invited refugees as an example of that irresponsibility in the video below, which is in Polish. A moment later, the minister says Poland helps Christian refugees locally, and that this kind of help is the best and most effective. I wanted to bring you... Katie Hopkins tweeted out to Donald Trump, "You're up early, Donald," because his tweet said, "Just out report, United Kingdom crime rises 13% annually amid spread of radical Islamic terror. Not good. We must keep America safe." And she says, actually, crime is on a huge rise, up 19%. Sex offenses up 19%. Knife crime up 26%. Stalking and harassment up 36%. Theft and burglaries up 11%. And grooming of children is up 64%.
Wow.
So that was Katie Hopkins too. And here we have the genderbread
Not
person.
again.
This is a teacher who said, "I saw this on the wall of my school district's K through 2 classrooms."
Is this in America?
Yes. So we have the gender identity. You can be a man over here, woman over here, masculine over here, feminine over here, male over here, female over here. You can be heterosexual, bisexual, and homosexual. But the problem is that this is child grooming. When you sexualize a gingerbread man, you have, and what's so funny is that they put a heart here. Orientation isn't about heart, who you love.
Here's
it's
the
who
thing.
you lust after.
I kind of have a beef, and I'm going to offend people here, but whatever. I have a beef with the parents that have their little, 2 or 3 year olds, and then they really encourage, oh, do you like so-and-so? Or even 4, 5, 6, 7 year olds at school. We have these parents that really want to almost vicariously live through their kids and want their kids to have these little crushes and little boyfriends and girlfriends at school. That should be the last thing that you are encouraging your child to do, because those kids that were encouraged, that I knew that were encouraged into doing that as children, were the kids that were starting to have sex at 12 and 13, and the ones that had multiple boyfriends and girlfriends throughout their teenage years and then into their life. That is not something that kids should be even thinking about. It shouldn't even be joked about. If a boy and a girl, one of my best friends in kindergarten was a little boy. And I remember, people asking me, "Oh, is that your little boyfriend?" And I'm like, "He's my friend." And so we shouldn't just automatically assume that kids are sexual. If they are friends as children, then don't make it into something weird, because then you're going to make kids feel awkward. And it's a kind of a heterosexual grooming. You shouldn't sexualize your children.
Right. This is Peter Schweitzer, the author of Clinton Cash, on Tucker last night. If you didn't see his whole interview, Tucker's just been on the ball every night. He's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been great.
And sorry, I muted this out. So we're going to unmute here.
So for her to pretend like, well, I don't really know, very knowledgeable on this subject, and she's a hawk on this issue. So for her to pretend like, well, I don't really know what was going on, I was not involved, just stretches credulity, and that's one of the reasons we need to have an investigation. And really, to this point, Tucker, we have not had a congressional hearing on this. Here's the bottom line. As this deal was coming for approval in 2010, the Clinton Foundation received from 9 shareholders in this uranium company that was sold to the Russians. 9 of them all of a sudden decided they were going to donate large amounts of money to the Clinton Foundation, more than $145 million. And by the way, a lot of those donations were never declared publicly by the Clintons. Right. They were hidden. So
why would you hide
it stinks in so many levels.
It stinks on so many levels. I kind of want to end with this. This is interesting. How many of you guys heard about the black representative woman who gave Trump a hard time
because of her phone calls? Because
of the phone call that Trump made to a widow. I have a Trump phone call to, I believe, that widow. I want to play for you, but I want to play for you General Kelly, and this is the first we've actually heard of General Kelly. It's a really interesting take on him. Just listen.
If you can.
If you can. God, is this just a screenshot? No.
You'll have to go and find it. I'll read some of the comments
Thank
here.
you.
Let's see. So Will says Merkel is Das Führer, Hitler with a mini stash in a Joey Lawrence bowl cut. Well said. Let me see. My mom says people respect countries that have strong laws and protect innocent people from criminals, and I agree with that. Mainstream media supports all this garbage. Thank you, Gonzalez. And Skyman says those kids also had a whore mom and dad too. True said. But here's the thing. These are like supposed to be normal parents that I've seen this happen to. Somebody points out, like Lisa says, John Bonet. We know what happened to her, or we don't. Let's see. Will says stolen childhood. What happened to Barbies and blocks, man? Got to visit an FAO Schwartz in the 90s, and they were great. Rocking horse, jacks, blocks, and dolls, just like the good old days.
You don't need to know gingerbread things.
Gingerbread man. No. Homeschool your kids. Send them to private school or a conservative school. Well said, Porky Prickly Pants. I love some of your names. You guys are fantastic. Let's see. The Matrix. That's true. Even Juncker said the EU army and superstate is happening. That was to a previous comment, but it's true. Juncker and, well, all of those big guys in the EU, they are moving towards a superstate. They are moving towards a big army. And it's kind of scary what they're trying to do. Let's see. We're going to cover the UKIP Anne-Marie Waters thing on Sunday. Sorry, I'm just trying to get caught up on some of the comments here. Have you girls heard the new Trump rap song? It's fantastic.
No.
Send that to us, please, Kate. We would love to see that. The only gingerbread in my house is food, not sex toys. Yuck.
I think this might be the clip. I'm not exactly sure. Let's see.
They are the best 1% this country produces. Most of you, as Americans, don't know them. Many of you don't know anyone who knows any one of them. But they are the very best this country produces. And they volunteer to protect our country when there's nothing in our country anymore that seems to suggest that self-service to the nation is not only appropriate but required. But that's all right. Typically, the only phone calls a family receives are the most important phone calls they can imagine, and that is from their buddies. In my case, hours after my son was killed, his friends were calling us from Afghanistan, telling us what a great guy he was. So, some presidents have elected to call. All presidents, I believe, have elected to send letters. My first recommendation was he not do it. Because it's not the phone call that parents, family members are looking forward to. He asked me about previous presidents, and I said I can tell you that President Obama, who was my commander-in-chief when I was on active duty, did not call my family. That was not a criticism. But then he said, you know, how do you make these calls? If you're not in the family, if you've never worn the uniform, if you've never been in combat, you can't even imagine how to make that call. I think he very bravely does make those calls. But let me tell you what I tell him. Let me tell you what my best friend, Joe Dunford, told me, because he was my casualty officer. He said, Kel, he was doing exactly what he wanted to do when he was killed. He knew what he was getting into by joining that 1%. He knew what the possibilities were because we're at war. And when he died, in the 4 cases we're talking about, Niger, my son's case in Afghanistan, when he died, he was surrounded by the best men on this earth, his friends. That's what the president tried to say to 4 families the other day. I was stunned when I came to work yesterday morning and brokenhearted at what I saw a member of Congress doing.
And now she's gone so far to take this, and she calls herself a rock star. It is unbelievably horrible what she has done. I'm going to see if I can find that article. There's another transgender bathroom dude. This woman right here, her name is Frederica Wilson, and now she's all excited. From Florida. Oh, now she's all excited because she thinks that I'm not going to play it if it has an ad. She's like, oh, now I'm famous. Now I'm a rock star. This...
I don't generally agree with General Kelly, but on this one I do.
I'm going to play this. I'm going to kind of end and round off with this. This is a phone call from the president to a widow of a fallen soldier. I don't know if this is the fallen soldier that is in, but listen to this.
Did you mute it?
I guess I did. Let's see.
No?
No?
Yes, sir.
I am so sorry to hear about the whole situation. What a horrible thing, except that he's an unbelievable hero. And, you know, all of the people that served with him are saying how incredible he was.
Yes, sir.
And just an amazing guy. And I he's a great hero.
I want to thank you, President Trump. Those words are very kind. He was an amazing man, an amazing husband, and an amazing soldier. And I couldn't be more proud of my husband than I am right now, sir, to be honest with you. It's what my husband wanted to... Yes.
Everyone told me how great. I mean, he was the leader, he was the boss, he was their friend. They all loved him, just like you do. I mean, he's just a special guy. Go ahead, Natasha.
Yes, he's just an all-around guy, and I'm glad that you got to get to know a little bit about him and get to hear a little bit about him, sir. My husband is, to me, he was already my hero, to be honest with you. We've been together 15 years, 5 children. Run down real quick, 2017, 15, 12, and 4. My son is currently in college in Missouri playing football, so when I say all around a hero, yes. And but now it's like the world gets to know he is an American hero, so thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I really do, sir. Thank you.
That's so amazing. It's so amazing. And I'll tell you, when you're around, if you could, you know the people to deal with, but if you're around in Washington, you come over and see me at the Oval Office, okay?
Yes, sir.
You just come over and see me, because you are just the kind of family, this is what we want. And how good a football player is your son at Missouri? He's got to be pretty good. That's a good team, right?
Yes, sir. He's a quarterback. He's been playing since he was 5, and he got a full academic scholarship when we were stationed in Hawaii, Schofield Barracks, sir. So it's his life. That's what he always wants to do. He's doing it, sir. He's making me proud, and he's making his father proud in heaven. So I have no complaints. I really don't. I'm a proud woman.
He got an academic scholarship, not a sports scholarship?
Not a sports scholarship. It was academic. He's had a 3.7 and above, sir, since the grades could, from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. Me and my husband, we never had to worry and never had to stress on him doing it. And just to add that he loves football on it first, there are no words, sir, to tell you how proud I am of my son. He's 20. Oh, God, yes. It's like I said.
Are your other kids all outstanding, or you have
yes.
Good and not quite as good?
We got some soccer players, right? So, there are always a couple in the group here. And I have, we have soccer players, cheerleaders, singers. It's a roundabout of talent. And they all have their special ways in their own ways. They're all truly amazing kids. So, yeah, we are truly blessed. Yes, we are.
So you just take care of yourself.
Yes, sir.
Come around and see me when you're in Washington, and say hello to your children and tell them that Father was a great hero that I respected, and I learned a lot before I made the call. I like to learn, and it's amazing what kind of a guy he was. So just tell him I said your father was a great hero.
Somebody's trying to call in. She's talking to the president, man.
It's going to be a great time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
That person's fired.
Thank you, sir. And to you the same, okay? I really appreciate it, sir, and thank you. Thank you very much from myself and family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tommy. You take care of
You too, sir. Bye.
I'm gonna cry.
The
Oh my
media
gosh.
is gonna rip Trump no matter what he does.
Yep.
That Trump is not Obama. He's not Clinton. He's not even Reagan. He's his own guy, and he is just real.
Right.
He's just who he is. He's like you and I. If you and I wanted to make somebody a phone call, I like Senator Ted Cruz, but he is a politician.
Yeah.
And everything that comes out of his mouth is cool and calculated and for a reason.
Right.
He doesn't really speak from the heart, per se.
Exactly.
You know, President Trump called that woman, learned about her husband, and spoke from the heart to her. And you guys haven't, maybe you watched Hannity, maybe you didn't, but the rundown that he did last night with the media, talking about how horrible Trump was and how he's this and that and this and that. I mean, this is an all-out war.
It is, absolutely. So Liberty Bell says, my son lived through 3 tours in Afghanistan. I can't imagine losing him, much less anyone being able to comfort me if I did, only God. And it's kind of strange because after I heard this story earlier today, I was thinking about all of these families that have lost fathers and mothers and sisters and brothers and husbands and wives because of these wars. And this man was a hero, and every single one of these young men and women that have gone to battle are heroes. However, it must be recognized that to protect the heroes that we have to pull out of these neocon wars and these places that we are in that we should not be in, where lives are being needlessly lost.
Absolutely.
And that is the respect that we show these heroes.
I was trying to
by getting
bring
out.
up, that was a good speech from General Kelly, but it wasn't the part of it that I wanted to come up, because the part that I wanted up, General Kelly goes on to say that, you know, our country used to value women.
Well, and Secretarian says that General Kelly went on to say that he was upset that the Congresswoman was listening in on a private conversation.
Right. He goes on, our country, it was a really moving speech. I didn't want to play like the whole 20-minute thing, so it was really...
Now, Beth had said this lady seemed respectful and appreciative, but must hate Trump and Republicans. I disagree, because she said that she is so proud of her husband. And in order to be a proud military wife, you have to be proud of your country. And in that, most of those families respect the president that is in there right now. Maybe not so much the neocons, but most of them are
when I came to work yesterday,
right-leaning,
brokenhearted
in thought
at what I saw a member of Congress doing. A member of Congress who listened in on a phone call from the President of the United States to a young wife, and in his way tried to express that opinion that he's a brave man, a fallen hero. He knew what he was getting himself into because he enlisted. There's no reason to enlist. He enlisted. And he was where he wanted to be, exactly where he wanted to be, with exactly the people he wanted to be with when his life was taken. That was the message. That was the message that was transmitted. It stuns me that a member of Congress would have listened in on that conversation. Absolutely stuns me. And I thought, at least that was sacred. You know, when I was a kid growing up, a lot of things were sacred in our country. Women were sacred and looked upon with great honor. That's obviously not the case anymore, as we see from recent cases. Life, the dignity of life, was sacred. That's gone. Religion, that seems to be gone as well. Gold Star families, I think that left in the convention over the summer. But I just thought the selfless devotion that brings a man or woman to die on the battlefield, I just thought that that might be sacred. And when I listened to this woman and what she was saying and what she was doing on TV, the only thing I could do to collect my thoughts was to go and walk among the finest men and women on this earth. And you can always find them because they're in Arlington National Cemetery. I went over there for an hour and a half. walked among the stones, some of whom I put there, because they were doing what I told them to do when they were killed.
Let's think about that for a second, General Kelly, you neocon globalist.
So it was a moving speech from
I bet
a
he didn't write it.
globalist.
I bet he
speech.
didn't write it.
I
think he was just sent out.
kind of moved by it.
You can't be moved by Satan.
I don't think he's Satan.
I think he's kind of like Satan. That's my opinion. So worth a look. Justin calls out, and he's from the UK. He's like, listen, nobody called Trump a racist until he beat the establishment and became president.
Right.
At that point, until that point, he was not a racist. So if we're going to round off our show, I'm going to save one for Sunday. We'll do this one now because it's from the UK.
Yeah.
So we got a little note in the mail. It's a card with, that's right, pumpkin magnets. And the card says, and InfoWars bumper stickers. That's right. I don't have these ones. This one says, save the U.S. Constitution.
We have one on the back.
I don't like the one that I have right now on there. It says the world has been overtaken by globalist forces. Not that I don't agree with that statement, because I totally do. I just don't think that people know what that even means. This one makes a lot of sense to people. I think the other one also makes more sense. Forbidden information. So it says, thank you so much for the great shows that you do. I always look forward to watching you both. You sing really good. Such amazing voices. I'm not sure about that, but thank you. God bless and have the best Halloween ever. And it is from Lois. So thank you very much, Lois. That was so sweet. And this is exactly why I wanted to put our address out there for you guys, because I want to hear straight from you. What are you getting out of Resistance Chicks? What are you learning in the world today? You know, from a global aspect, no matter where you are at. We actually got a little package from the UK we're going to save for our Sunday show from Shawnee's show and his wife. So we're going to save that for then. I had one more thought that I wanted to wrap my head around, and now I can't. Oh, yes. All right. I need to do a big fat shout out to the American brand. Scott Kesterson, Leah's going to pull it up here. He has not only a channel that he does. Oh, I thought you were going to pull it up. I actually can pull it up probably.
You want me to or you want to?
I'm not really sure. Like, mine doesn't let me pull up YouTube channels to drop into the thing. But anyway, he has a huge following on Facebook. I'm not sure what his platform was before YouTube. I know he's new to YouTube, but he's got like 7,000 followers on Facebook. And he has been doing shout outs to us thanks to Apple Mark Wants Vids. And so thank you, Mark. I guess Scott has watched our videos and he really likes our content. He's got more of a homestead. He's kind of like in the same boat as we are. Homesteading. And realizing that that's the way that we're supposed to live. But at the same time, he breaks down
the news,
current news. So if there really was a channel, and I'm brand new to this, I had no idea that he existed and was watching our show. Yeah. Until Mark had sent it to me, and I love this guy's show. I mean, he sits on a rocking chair a lot of times on his front porch and literally breaks down the news going live so he can answer comments. And so I'm not really sure what his schedule is or anything like that, but I want you guys to find this page, The American Brand, on Facebook and on YouTube, and check out Scott, because he is just a down-to-earth, real guy that is incredibly knowledgeable. So I wanted to give a shout-out back to him, because he has given shout-outs to us on several vids recently. So thank you, Scott, for that. And thank you, Mark, for bringing that to my attention, because I love Scott's channel. If I could refer anyone to a channel that is like-minded like ours, it would be his. Also, though, while I'm pushing channels, I know I do this a lot, but in case you are new here, you need to be subscribed to Will Way's channel, CipherNews, CIPHER News, and worth a look, our very own Justin Hughes has put together and is coming out, I think I can say that, with a news wrap-up, a weekly news wrap-up. And he recently did one. I'm going to put a link to it in the description here. And it's actually, I told him he's going to put us out of business, because he's not on screen yet, which he needs to because he has this Manchester accent that is absolutely fantastic. He's done. He sent us a video once, and I just absolutely love it. That was when we were having technical difficulties as well, and the dogs knock over the lights and whatnot. But he did a weekly roundup kind of video that is so enjoyable and fantastic. He actually drops a line of his own with some mixes in the middle. He's I want to say rapper. They say hip hop in the UK. So you can look out for that. But so those are my channels that I want to plug today. Besides, you heard me plug Stacy's daughter Ruby is doing the Homestead Kid. That's a new channel. Also, I'm going to put links to all of these in the description after the video processes. So I want you guys to go there. I think Leah has gone to try to round up, if I can read her mind, which I really can, Kansas, to see if he can't give a shout out, even though I know we're reaching the 2-hour mark here. But I don't think I can like sign off without her. Britt Vaza says Facebook. You guys are talking about Facebook. They banned one of your posts today. A Muslim black man on being racist on the tube. And Facebook is completely censoring everyone. So you guys are telling me, oh, you guys should, we are on Facebook, obviously, but as far as going live and putting videos up there, no, I can't do that because we would completely get censored. Do I remember MySpace? Yes, it died the death. Facebook, I'm hoping, will die the death and we can get, but see, here's the thing. Somebody is always going to come up with something new and then it's going to be equally as corrupt. So I don't know. Let's see. What else do you guys have? No, the Zyder Party has not made a video for me yet, and we are looking into doing that, Britt. Patriot Gallery.
Minds and Gab are taking over.
Gab and what else?
Minds.
Minds.
M-I-N-D-S.
And oh, Minds, like your mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Minds. That's a new Facebook.
Okay.
They do everything Facebook does in different ways.
I don't know if I like Gab just yet. I mean,
I shared it on Blogger.
Okay. I don't know. We'll see. We will see what happens. But we're going to sign off here as soon as Leah gets back. I think, or no, Kansas is going to come in. But before then, I want to thank all of our moderators who were here. Will Way. I know John Petter was here. He's got a new screen name. Texas Rancher. I think he said that was an accident, but he's going to fix it. Gary, Maya. I'm trying to think if... worth a look if anybody else was here, but thank you guys for being moderators and being contributors to our channel and the chat. I know, here comes the special guest. Oh, and if you guys do need our email, it is massfaith, masfaith@gmail.com, and our postal address is Resistance Chicks, P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio 45150. So we have covered extensively pedophilia today and homosexuality and their intertwinedness. So do you want to tell the people some stuff, some insider information?
Well, it's something that only Christ can give justice and give peace and calm and comfort in the midst of the storm, both in your life or in life, of everyone in the world. Only God can really alleviate that, and there's just such peace, I don't know, overwhelming joy in Christ, and just knowing your identity in Christ Jesus, and that, it doesn't really matter where you come from, because, God creates all, He knows all, He's sovereign over all, so, He's our ultimate, Father. For some that haven't had good parents, or you haven't had a good background or something, I mean, that's who God is. And I mean, He's there with you all the time, and it's a real relationship. I mean, you can just really hear Him speak to you, and it's a real intimate bond. I mean, it's hard to describe if you haven't experienced it for yourself, but I mean, it's a supreme power and voice that just echoes through your entire being, and you just know that this is God speaking. This isn't me. It's something that's coming from elsewhere.
So you lived, in my humble opinion, compared to most people, a horrific childhood and young adulthood. And so can you describe the difference mentally of what you went through and then when you met Christ, and then it's kind of like the shackles falling off your eyes and the healing that takes place?
Yeah, because in that sort of environment, your every move is controlled down to the food you can eat and when and where you can sleep or anything. You know, it's every single thing is just
that's what abusers
bound
do.
up and controlled and shackled. And so, you know, when you come to Christ, you just realize that you're just completely fulfilled in Him, and it's just I don't know, it's a completely different ball game because you just realize, you know, really all I have to do is, you know, wake up and serve the Creator of the heavens and the earth. You know,
it's a lot more simple than it was made out to be.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, we can make things overly complicated. I mean, you know, there's a reason why Christ used, you know, unlearned fishermen and stuff instead of, you know, Pharisees and people that are real worldly and intelligent. Not that, you know, there's anything wrong with that, but there's just a simplicity to God using them to encourage us because, you know, hey, the wisdom that they have, it's clearly coming from God. It's not coming from, you know, some sort of college degree with masters and PhDs and, you know, and I have some sort of huge job with all these letters after my name or
God
whatever.
is the ultimate
you know.
underdog fighter. I mean, it's a massive theme throughout the Bible.
Just the great equalizer. I mean, he, you know, that's what he says all throughout Jeremiah and Isaiah and Ezekiel. I mean, you know, he's basically saying that the rich, powerful people in the world, that, you know, you've neglected the fatherless and the widow, and that you've forsaken their cause, and when they were begging for bread, you never gave them anything, and you know, you're taxing them when they didn't have enough money to buy food. I mean, so you know, God knows that, and you know, even if it doesn't seem like God's moving on your behalf, you know, you can obviously listen to testimonies of other Christians, but you know, especially ones in, you know, like countries where, you know, Africa or China or something. I mean, you know, God speaks to them and comforts them and says, look, I know what's going on, but I got it all under control.
That's the way God is. Patriot Gallery.
I just wondered if you could explain some of the red pills you took, because you had to take a lot of red pills after you came to Christ, and you know God is your Father and He loved you. You had to take a pill on rock and roll, and you had to take a red pill on NASA. You had to take a red pill on
which these are all videos,
bands,
Kansas Cowboys, you can watch.
And stuff, and just tell me the red pills you took, even the pills on food, because you had a limited food choice too.
Right.
The best thing is just the piece, to overly simplifying it, of just the basic farming lifestyle, which I mean, it seems like, I don't know, I'm kind of like Salatin or something, like
Joel Salatin,
yeah, beating a dead horse or something, but I mean, really, like 100 years ago, I mean, what, 60-80% of the population was farming. I mean, there weren't big...
It was more than that. Yeah, 60 to 80, that's about right, yeah.
There weren't big, giant, you know, pieces of equipment, you know, that were just a small, like 5% could farm for everybody. I mean, your people out in the country, and it was just really simple. And, you know, if you had a family, then it was a really tight-knit group, and if you really love your family, you want to be with them all the time. So the idea of being separated and going off to jobs and everything, it's just really artificial and not really fulfilling. So for me, I mean, it's just realizing that, you know what, I can step back. I don't have to necessarily, if God leads me to, not worry about money or not worry about the jobs and everything. Don't worry about technology and, you know, having a brand new car or something. You know, I mean,
because you had a business degree, you had your own business, you owned 5 houses.
It's kind of like I was working, but at the same time I was completely controlled. It's sort of like all the money was funneling into the abusers' hands or whatever you'd call it. So there's just real freedom in realizing that, you know what, I just need to just, I can just work with animals and plant crops like they did in the Bible. I don't necessarily need to
seek after riches and wealth and
like,
modern technology.
Yeah, I don't need to go to outer space. And, if someone else wants to spend their own money on it, then they can. But, I just don't really feel that we really need to go to outer space and, do all that.
But it's more than that, though, because you uncovered kind of the satanic links to NASA and the space pursuit.
Yeah, they had satanic rituals that went on before all the rocket launches, and they had these hymns to Pan that they'd sing, which is another word for Satan, basically. And so they'd have all these weird, like, satanic sexual rituals and things. And
Jack Parsons.
Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So they're all kind of tied together, really.
And you knew every rock and roll song, every rock and roll band. You collected guitars. And right when you and I started talking, God started to speak to you something. I mean, you literally knew everybody. You could go on some sort of like trivia show for rock and roll.
Well, it's kind of like, it's one of those things you're raised with, and you think, well, it's music, but when you realize that, a lot of the songs, they're coming from a demonic place, and the people say that they basically, they'll just go on national TV and just say, yeah, I sold my soul for rock and roll, and, I made a deal with the devil and stuff.
Yeah.
And, it's easy to kind of joke about it, but I mean, it's kind of...
It was real to them.
Yeah, it's real, and, if God gives me a song and he wants me to sing to him, then that's one thing, but, I like hearing God's voice, I guess, more than anything, and if I fill myself with just too much radio and just people, I don't know, talking over the top of just dead space. Today's society is very loud and boisterous, and there's no peace and calm.
Well, we always have a TV going or radio
there's no real time to hear the still small voice of the Lord. So for me, it was very easy just to say, you know what, I don't need the music, it's not fulfilling. Plus, most of the songs, they're all really depressing. Where it's like, okay, my life completely fell apart, and I lost my job, and my family fell apart, and stuff like that. So it's just very empty.
So it was like really easy. Like you lost all taste for it. It was like a drug addict who just like, I don't want to touch it ever again. You literally started to like be repulsed by.
Yeah, absolutely.
Music.
Even now, like, we'll be at, I don't know, wherever, and a song comes on, and I'm like, who is this again? And Matt's like, so-and-so. Like, he just knows. But he doesn't really want to give this information. He doesn't have to go back to the file, of the Rolodex in there. But
what is your favorite food that you couldn't eat before, that you didn't even know existed, and now you eat it?
Well, I don't know, beef with, hamburger with a lot of fat in it, or, just
you gotta eat the leanest
bacon and eggs for breakfast. And
like
stuff
eggs
like that.
fried in bacon grease. The first time we cooked that for him, like, he was like, can I eat this? That was so great. There were so many foods. It's just his family was abusive, and food was their controlling outlet. And so when we met you, you're like big beefy now. What are you, like 185?
I have no idea. I don't have a scale.
Well, but you do know how much you
How much did you weigh when we first met?
Well, I was probably lowest, maybe like 120 or something.
And it wasn't by choice. Like, he's the dude because the family says we don't eat McDonald's, I'm rebellious, okay? When I'm a kid and I'm told I can't do something, like, I'm going to go and sneak the McDonald's.
Well, do you want to explain?
Go and get
your
it.
Dad controlled your mom. Your mom is still really thin. Controlled your brother.
It's kind of all linked to pornography, right?
Trying to keep boys, men like boys.
Yeah, I mean, some people are allowed to be really strong and powerful, and other people are controlled. So you can't just go into a restaurant and just say, I'm hungry for the number 2 and just order it. You have to eat whatever they choose for you to eat. I don't know if that probably sounds strange, but that's kind of the way it is.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't sound strange because
Like,
it
what
makes
about
sense.
Liberace?
Yeah,
You were in a Liberace type relationship
Yeah,
with your
sort of like
dad.
Liberace and that
Young
and that
dude.
yeah, the young guy they had around, the boy or whatever, and it's kind of like Liberace's this like big, I don't know, kind of.
But he was healthy.
Yeah, I'm just saying the boy is kept
In a certain, well, he had to have plastic surgery
weaker and
to look like him. It was controlled. So the situation is for you. Unfortunately, you were
because if you don't eat. I don't know. You're more childlike still or something.
And it goes to it really gives testimony to the fact that you really were in a traumatic atmosphere. I mean, this was real bona fide, and on the surface,
it was like Auschwitz.
Your dad owned a Hallmark store. Everybody in the community knew him. Your uncle was the community dentist. Your mom worked at the school. You guys were a normal family. I mean, as far as that's concerned, right?
Yep, pretty normal, but
behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's miserable, obviously, behind closed doors. It's not the way it appears, I'd say.
Right, exactly. So Buzzy has said that he's going to send you a case of beer. That's probably not the food group that you were. That was the one thing that the family encouraged. Why? It's just like drugs, right? Because you have to keep somebody controlled somehow. So that was the one thing that you were allowed to, and you didn't even like it.
Yeah, it's like here, everyone has to, go lie with, somebody and in bed with somebody you don't like, and drink beer and all this sort of stuff, watch pornography and everything, and there's just the real freedom and just the peace of Christ and just living out your life for Him, really.
So you have had and Leah and I can testify, and our mom, to the dramatic change that Jesus Christ has done in you.
Because there's just something that, obviously He can do that no one else can do, where He just touches hearts and minds, and, He doesn't even have to, say a complete, line like in Scripture. I mean, all He has to say is just one word from the throne. He can just think it, healing, power, deliverance, forgiveness, cleansing, joy, peace, and it's just boom, 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 just, and your everything in your life can change just by one word.
So I want to get to any questions that you guys have for Kansas. Leah's going to end with the song that you wrote for Kansas.
I was going to sing that one.
Oh, come on. You can't sing the country. He was a Christian country boy.
I mean,
it's a perfect song. Oh, Leah wrote a song for. I could sing it right now, man. Mile after mile. All right, no, you should. That's the song we should sing. Leah wrote a song for Kansas that's absolutely amazing. It's about his testimony, but so think of any questions you have for Kansas, and I'm going to start off with the first one, which is the basic one, which we've covered before. Actually, when we had piglets earlier this year, we were going live having piglets. Everyone wanted to know where we met Kansas. This is my favorite story to tell. He's going to roll his eyes. I'm going to wrap it up really, really short, but we met him on Farmers Only, and I say we because for years everybody kept asking Leah and I, what are you going to do? You're never going to get married. And I always say we have a plan B, because Leah had heard of this website where you could meet a farmer or a rancher, and it was called farmersonly.com. So that was jokingly our plan B. One day I sneakily made a Leah profile and put her picture up there. I wrote it in first person as if I was Leah, and then I went out there on the porch. She was sitting outside, and I remember I had this big grin on my face, and she just knew, like, what did you do? And I'm like, come look at this. So for 2 weeks we looked at these profiles, and we were like in tears, like, the plan B has failed. These people are all nuts. They are so crazy. And then Kansas sent Leah a message, just a couple, I like your dog and you might come in handy, because we had some of our, drywall, projects on and stuff like that. Then he drops off the face of the planet for a whole month. And Leah, a couple times around the house, she's like, I wonder whatever happened to that Kansas guy, which is how he got the name. I thought we kind of hit it off a little bit. And she'd give him a hard time, and I'd say, well, you're going to feel really bad if, like, his mom died or something. And it turned out that his granddad, had passed away, and he was in the hospital and with him and stuff like that, and that's why he hadn't messaged. And really, Leah and Kansas aren't a couple or an item or anything like that, because it really went straight to a friendship where Leah, as a kind of a minister, could recognize that you needed healing, right? And so, long story short, Kansas now lives here in our basement, and he's just a part of our family for right now, because God's still working on you, God's still working on us and our family, and God hasn't said anything, but he has become an integral part to our family. There are so many things that we wouldn't have been able to do if it weren't for Kansas. He was the blessing that God had set out to bring to God's Little Acre, to bring to Isaiah 58 Ministries, to bring to Mass Faith 3. He makes the 4. Uncle Jack is 5. And then the dogs, you can just keep going on. But we wouldn't have the pigs. We wouldn't have the chickens. He built the chicken coop. But it's more than the physical stuff that he can do. It's the spiritual contributions of having, the Bible talks about a 3 cord strand is not easily broken, but we were just the 3 of us girls. We've never had a solid man in our lives, and having a man is a huge difference, just even from a spiritual weight standpoint. So that is the long story summed up as much as I can possibly sum that up. So now I'm going to see if I can get to let's see. Hey, congratulations, Britt Baza. He said the very exactly last drink I had was 8 months ago.
Wow.
Well done. Matt, you are awesome. Lisa says, thank you, Matt. What, Patriot Gallery?
Oh, I was just going to say, God also showed Matt what he was naturally called to do in the making a sawmill and working with wood. He really loves to work with wood. He was doing all this stuff, but it was meaningless. It had no meaning to him.
He picked up trash every day.
But
made a lot
the
of money.
sawmill was like, oh, that was God talking to me. So he distinguished the voice of God in him from the pressures of the world.
Right.
Matt could tell about that.
Yeah. And just as far as sawmilling goes, I mean, you go to the store and just, little simple pine boards at a store are like $1 million, and, forget about hardwoods. I mean, they're just outrageous. You have to just really count the cost before you make a project, a piece of furniture or a bookshelf or something for the wall. I mean, yeah, and you have to make sure you don't cut the board too short, because then, you might have wasted, $50, $80 on one little piece of wood.
Right.
Whereas, if you just, there are trees everywhere. I mean, if God provides you a saw just to cut the wood, then, it's really a lot easier.
And you...
it's a lot more reasonable if you can just cut a tree.
You grew up listening to, audio recordings of, This Old House, the New Yankee Workshop. Your passion was wood. Jesus was a carpenter. And now you're able to do those things and put all of those, that dream and desire.
Yeah, you can do anything with wood. I can't find the book.
What book are we looking for?
The book with the maroon thing.
Okay, keep going.
And they obviously they have varying sawmills that you can. I'm getting trapped by the cord here.
Oh yeah, you are trapped by the cord.
I mean, they have. Ours is a band sawmill, but obviously they have ones, little attachments that you can hook up to a chainsaw or something. But for me, it's really enjoyable where you don't have to have the financial aspect to it, where it's, you know what I mean? Or it's not like, well, I should really put new tires on a vehicle, or I should buy food or new clothes for somebody, or buy this, wood for a project.
Right.
Right. It can be a peaceful hobby.
Yeah. So, you also were into, you were in band. I don't know if that was your choice, but it kind of like your family pushed you in a certain direction where you thought you wanted to do things. That happens. You have to find what God wants you to do.
Yeah, and there's just freedom, and for me, I mean, just working out in the fields in the middle of nowhere with cows. I mean, I didn't exactly work with the animals, but more just weeding and stuff. But still, I mean, there's a real peace there, and that's always what I enjoyed. And you tell your high school guidance counselor or whatever you call them, where you're from, that you just want to be a farmer or a rancher, they literally look at you like you have 3 heads, you're insane. They're like, like, no, seriously, what do you want to do with your life?
Right.
They act like you're crazy. You
Right.
know, you have to go to college and get a degree for something. You can't
Speaking
just work with animals.
Of the ranch, you grew up working with your granddad on a ranch, but tell them just real quickly while Michelle's finding that notebook how they got it wrongfully during the Depression, and it wasn't supposed to be in your family.
Yeah, they were just kind of in a position at the time
Or bankers.
Yeah, where they had some mining and oil rights they had farms, and then obviously, you know, the mineral rights for the land. They were acquiring profits from that, and then they also, on one side of the family, they owned a bank. So then when the Great Depression happened, then they started, you know, scooping up all sorts of farms and properties from people that, you know, were wrongfully acquired when other people are getting ousted, kicked off their land. It's kind of, you know, awful actually, because, you know, the one family that I'm familiar with, the main ranch that I worked on for a while before it was sold off, the old man that worked there and helped to kind of manage the property, he grew up on the site, and there was a house there on the property when he was there, and he went from, you know, having this property in the family and being a rancher to just kind of being a hired hand, like, you know, someone working for Walmart or something for, you know, minimum wage. It's just, you don't have that joy and satisfaction that you do if it's just your own property. There's something to owning your own land and being, you know, your own man or woman and doing what you're called to do and not being underneath someone else.
Yeah, so everybody has to find the property and the land wherever God's called them to be. You can't take it from somebody else. And that's
Yeah,
the trick of it.
and obviously, you know, it was the Lord when the property, they got greedy, and there's a weed that was invading the pasture, and long story short, they could have got rid of the weed simply, I think, with just goats. You find the animal will eat the weed, and you just put a lot of them in there. But, you know, nothing that Monsanto had could get rid of this weed, and, you know, everyone was losing their minds, and everyone wants to think about big dollar signs and big retirements and everything. So they thought, well, we're just going to get big mega dollars for selling this property. And it's like God brought in just the ultimate storm with, you know, the worst snow ice storm that, you know, the area had ever experienced, and, you know, just forever. It's crazy. It's just like practically, I'm gonna exaggerate, but I mean, you know, it's some of those ice storms where it seems like there has to be like a half inch or an inch of ice on the ground, and no one can go anywhere. So they didn't have a reserve on the auction that has to at least meet a certain amount. I mean, most people that sell you know, something used out of their garage on eBay put a reserve on it, but this ranch didn't. So you know, no one showed up because of the snowstorm and ice storm, and it basically sold for pennies on the dollar. And, you know, it gives me, you know, peace.
They failed.
Yeah, I'm free from that, you know, and I'm just working here, and I haven't obviously acquired a penny of the proceeds.
Oh, you're leaving now?
Well, I thought you needed a place.
Oh,
Well,
you don't want to
only
be.
if
Leah
you're
doesn't want to
done.
be in here. No, Matt, do you want to sing with us?
Does he know this song?
I don't know if he knows that one or not.
So I thought this one came to my mind because of what we've been covering and pedophilia and stuff like that. And I think we
You need
needed
to
to
come
end in healing. Well, we can try. I don't know. We can try to come in.
Or you can stay out. Kansas, do you want to sing this song?
Well, it's easier if I just, I guess,
You can come over here. Or you can come in here. Come this way. Now, don't play it very loud because it'll crack the mic.
I don't know if you can control the thing as we go through it.
I can. dog bowl.
But not the camera.
No, but just the
It
dog
sounded
bowl.
like we gotta go down to the basement.
Wow.
Second time. And it was
In
really
one
on
night.
fire for that one. I'm gonna
Wait a
keep
minute.
going.
Even when the dogs knock over the camera, I'm still gonna sing your praise. When things don't always work out, I'm still gonna sing your praise and say yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, amen. Okay. Pressed but not crushed, persecuted, not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. I'm blessed beyond the curse, for His promise will endure. His joy is gonna be my strength. His joy is gonna be my strength. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, amen. One more time. I'm trading my sorrows. I'm trading my shame. I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. I'm trading my sickness. I'm trading my pain. And I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. One more time. I'm trading my sorrows. I'm trading my shame. And I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. I'm trading my sickness. I'm trading my pain. And I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. And we say yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord. Yes, 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 Lord. Amen. Pressed but not crushed, persecuted, not abandoned, shut down but not destroyed. I'm blessed beyond the curse, for His promise will endure. His joy is gonna be my strength. Yes, Lord, your joy is gonna be my strength. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord. Amen. So, the person I talked to about being hurt, she had a male family member who stood up for her. And Millie Weaver was on InfoWars yesterday, and she really touched me. And she said something. She said, we want to encourage men to be men again. And that's what Resistance Chicks is all about. Because when it comes to taking down the pedophiles, I can only do so much. I need men to take down men. I'm not big enough. I'm not strong enough. But you guys are. And you can. And we need godly men in the power of God to know what's right and how to do it without going to jail themselves. Right? How to take down the pedophile networks, how to stop prostitution.
Right.
We need you guys, and that's why you guys are awesome, and that's why we love you, and that's why you
guys are part of the resistance because you're standing up against pedophilia. You're standing up against the pornographers. You're standing when other people are just partaking. And you had like Quentin Tarantino. He came out and said something.
Who listens to that guy anyway?
Well, he said, I knew and I should have done something. Right? But he did it because of the money. And the reason why you guys who are watching, you don't do anything is because you're not allowed. I mean, you'll go to prison, right?
Mom says Leah would kill a pedophile.
We would
probably
about it.
injure and then drag down to the police station.
I have been with someone and thought to myself, if I kill this person, I'm going to go to jail.
Right.
So I chase them away. And so if that's me and I'm 5'4", what about you guys? And I'm just praying that God will give you guys David moments where you can legally, oh, you found it. We'll have to do it another time. Yes.
I'm looking all over for this. This is the gold.
It was in here the whole time.
And like it just came to me. Well, but where is the song in here? Do you even know?
No, I don't know where it's at.
But can we give them a sneak preview?
I'm not sure if it's in here.
No, just with the word. Can't you just remember? My life's a sweet mile. He pushed that pedal down.
As he prayed to his God above to turn his life
around. He was a Christian country boy. He was a Christian country
I'm going to find it and we'll work on it. Because actually,
that's Kansas's song.
Maddie sings that with us.
We do it in a kind of a round with three-part harmony.
I hope it's in here.
So... You're going to have to find it, sister.
I guess so.
All right.
Pray that you find it.
I was hoping we could sing it now because it goes with Kansas being here. So thank you, Maddie. I call him Maddie for short sometimes because his name is Matthew.
Kansas.
Matthew David. Very strong Christian name.
He doesn't. He's like, I don't keep up with the news. But this is something that he...
Okay, though. Raise your hand. Hi, people. If you would like to see Kansas do more Kansas Cowboys.
Maddie, you're not seeing all the hands.
So, yeah, we need to put pressure on him to do more of those. But you can find them in our playlist on our channel. Just keep scrolling down till you get to the Kansas Cowboys. They are absolutely fantastic.
Well, we did a whole Jesuits thing because he did the research.
Yes, absolutely. So, all right. I cannot believe you guys have stuck with us. Tawana Lynn's raising her hand. Gary raising his hand. Kate raising her hand.
We got hands.
Where the Look raising his hand. So we have lots of hands raised here. And Will, hand. Custard Boy, hand. They all want to hear more Kansas Cowboys.
I love the names of people on YouTube.
I do love your guys' names. So that's going to round us off for, I can't believe we did an almost 3-hour segment. But it really was a bonus having Kansas here to tell his story. And it's a miracle. God is a miracle worker.
I was tearing up. I mean, seriously, watching what God has done. He didn't tell you what really got him saved.
You know what? One day, we are going to do, Leah and I together, we're going to do 2 blogs. We're going to do Leah's Liberace expose, and then we're going to do the Why I Want to Marry a Farmer.
That wasn't what got him saved. What got him saved, Kansas.
Here he comes. Look at all these hands raised. George's hand is raised.
Was the birth
Lisa's
control
hand,
email.
Sheldon. You
want to tell them about that real quick? They're watching. I don't know if you want to give them a tidbit on that.
No
one.
GMO Joe raising his hand.
I sent Matt an email and I said, listen, I believe in stay-at-home moms, and I thought, well, I'd stop hearing from him. And then I showed him.
Watch out the cord, man.
I sent him an email, but just to let you know, if we're going to carry on this conversation any further, I don't believe in birth control. And at that time, you were like 2 kids, and we sent them to college. That's what your. And then, you woke up something, and God hit your head. You hit your head or something.
Yeah, there's just something that God does where He just shows you how the life that He's given you, and how you have a purpose for your life, and obviously, you know, if He's called you to marry someone, then. You know, in His word, He says that why does He bring 2 to be 1 for a godly seed to have children, and there's this fulfillment in, you know, instilling those values and Christian way of life with the farming and stuff to the next generation.
If you're interested, you can go watch God's Viagra.
That's a good one.
The sight of a man tearing up.
It's such beautiful children.
Because there should be, if you're married, there should be fulfillment in seeing your wife as being a best friend that's there with you all the time, and that you get to be with your kids all the time, and it's not like public school
and
or
kids
something.
Are a blessing.
Yeah, where they're a real blessing, and they can help out around the house or some sort of homestead if you have one, and they're eager to please. They want to work and do stuff.
Oh.
Because we have, I guess technically they're not Amish. They like to be called Old Order
Mennonite. Our friends.
Mennonite.
We have friends that are Old Order Mennonite.
Yeah, so they have a big family, obviously, and
they're really happy.
They're all really happy, and they all really like having a job. It's not like slave labor. You get to see the fruits of their labor.
Fun is
work. If one boy in particular wants to take over a greenhouse operation, and even the Amish, you can get pretty fancy, with all kinds of weird drip lines and stuff, and he engineered this really fancy greenhouse,
just amazing
hothouse, whatever he called it, something like that. And other boys, it's like they each have a certain cow that they milk every day, and you really get something of life out of it.
Each person adds something to their farm instead of taking away.
It's a real value that you're getting every day. You really feel like you've accomplished something.
So the difference is if you have a farm, every child is a blessing and adds to your farm. Whereas if you live the American life that we live today, it's consumers, and children consume rather than produce. But you got to get around the idea that actually children can produce. We can all be productive.
Well, it's kind of like that, stereotypical picturesque image of, the Amish raising a barn in a day and everybody helps out,
right.
Instead of today's society where everybody's kind of so busy doing their own thing and trying to work and trying to pay the bills and everything that there isn't really the time or the ability to commit to helping out like that. So I don't know, it's kind of nice to see a community that is that way.
It is nice.
Where they can kind of diversify, where they don't all have to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
If
they're all a little different.
Yeah, if our farmers, if they have cows, a neighbor, they might, have sheep or,
right.
Alpacas or something else,
right.
or pigs or something, but you can't do it all, but if there's a community, then different people can specialize in different things, and you can kind of
so you personally saw you something happened to your head.
It's just seeing children as a real blessing and a gift from God, and
as the very reason for marriage.
Yeah,
it is the very reason for marriage.
But you were a different person after that, totally different.
You can just look through, and it kind of seems boring at first. So throughout the Bible, okay, we're reading about Ruth, and then okay, now why is there this lineage of 100 zillion people? This person begot this person, and this person, had this person, and then obviously in the Gospels, and it talks about Christ's full lineage, and it's, God had the perfect plan in order to bring forth the promised Messiah, but He has a plan for your life too. So.
Love it. We should sign off there since we're hitting 4 hours.
You wanted to see a picture of
mine? No,
so
somebody had asked, Patriot Gallery is camera shy. She doesn't do cameras. She just does not. But I do have permission every once in a while when it's absolutely necessary. They said they wanted a family shot. So here is Patriot Gallery. I'm allowed to use this photo of her. I have other photos I could use as well, but this was the easiest one to get to. And so this is Patriot Gallery, who will not be on camera because she's petrified, scared to death. And you all, I think, can understand that. It's easier to be the voice behind the camera than to be in front of the camera. Yes. So we would not be able to do what we do without Patriot Gallery, which is our mom, obviously. Yes.
Thanks for saying. This was like a really cool, fun Friday night. We had Kansas. We sang a song. The camera fell over twice. This was fantastic. You guys are fun, and it's fun to talk about these things. And even if we disagree on things, Lisa, if you're still here, we can talk about them. And
yeah, oh, absolutely. And that's what makes Resistance Chicks, I think, so awesome.
Poor Sydney, she likes to talk about things too. She's in my tummy talks all the time.
What I love about our chat is that it's always respectful. While we were singing, there was some conversations going on about cannabis oil. Have a chat about that. We're not going to talk about it here on Resistance Chicks because I'm not going to go there.
I will on cannabis oil. I think it can bring a lot of people out of seizures and stuff. But you don't have to be high with it.
But I know, but we don't have to do the debate though. Oh. Like we don't have to. You know, it's just, it is what it is. It'll get figured out.
I don't want people to be high because I feel like it's dangerous, but I don't want people to be drunk either, so.
Right.
Just because I feel like it's dangerous.
Yes, our mom still looks exactly like that. She's giving herself a hard time. But yes, let her off for not being on the camera because she does not want to be on camera. So thank you guys for being with us for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
But if you know where to get hair clips that aren't so
what's
cheap,
wrong with you? Now you've gotten
fall
slap
apart.
happy.
We put
no.
These,
all right. So as a reminder,
breaking all the time.
My job right now is to go drop a bunch of links in the description. I'll leave the chat open for about 10 minutes. And so if you guys want to continue chatting, and then I'm going to shut down the chat once the video processes. But all of the descriptions for that video that they're supposed to watch, their homework. If
yeah, we're going to turn it on right
now,
actually.
It's too late for you, but for the rest of you, it is not too late to go and watch the video. And I've got other links that open secret that I'm going to be dropping in the descriptions as well. Different channels that I want you guys to go and subscribe to and tune into as well. So we're going to sign off here. We love you. God loves you. God bless. And remember, it is not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth.
I was cold all alone. No place for home every day. So afraid. But you go